me see your hands.
Damn, man.
Stay in the car. Let me see your other hand.
I'm sorry.
Let me see your other hand.
Please, Miss Officer.
Both hands.
Do nothing.
Put your fucking hands up right now. Let me see your other hand.
All right. What I do though? What do we do?
Put your hand up there. Put your fucking hand up there. Jesus Christ. Keep your fucking hands on the wheel. Keep your fucking hands on the wheel.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry, Miss Officer.
Who else is in the car?
That's my
Put your foot back in.
I'm sorry, Miss Officer. I'm so sorry. God dang, man. Man, I got shot the same way, Miss Officer, before.
Okay, well, when I say let me see your hands, you put your fucking hands up.
Man, I'm so sorry, Miss Officer.
You got them?
Man, dang, man.
Put your hands on top of your head.
Man, Miss Officer. Last time I got shot like that, Miss Officer.
Hands on top of your head. Hands on top of your head. Step out of the vehicle and step away from me, all right? Step out and face away. Step out and face away.
Okay, Miss Officer, please don't shoot me. Please, man.
I'm not going to shoot you. Step out and face away.
I'm looking you eye to eye, man. Please don't shoot me, man.
I'm not shooting you, man.
Please, man. I just lost my mom, man.
Taking one out. Step out and face away.
So sorry.
Step out and face away.
Please don't shoot me, Mr. Officer. Please. Don't shoot me, man.
Step out and face away.
Can you not shoot me, man?
I'm not shooting you. Step out and face away.
Okay. Please, man. Please. I didn't know, man.
Get out of the car.
I didn't know, Mr. Officer. I didn't know.
Put your fucking hands right now.
Stop moving.
Put your hands behind your back then.
I'm not going to do nothing.
Face in the door.
Get his other arm.
Hey, you come back. Stay in the car.
I'm sorry, Mr. Officer. I get on my knees, whatever. Oh, man.
Stop resisting, man.
I'm not.
Yes, you are.
I want to do nothing else, man. Please, don't care.
Stand up.
Please, man.
Against the wall.
Oh, me?
Yes.
What I doing?
We're figuring out what's going on. Drop the bag.
Figuring out what's going on.
Adam,
What's your problem?
Said something to him. It ain't us.
we was getting a ride,
I
sir.
just got my phone fixed. This
You can ask
my
Adam on
ex-man.
that. Adam know me.
This is my ex.
Are you good?
He keep coming, get me.
That's it, man.
Adam, you can ask Mr.
You got
Adam
ID?
about us,
Take
sir.
Floyd to jail.
You can ask Mr. Adam about me.
Do you have ID?
I'm on 38th in Chicago.
Man,
320 we're quote for.
you can ask Mr. Adam about me, sir. I just came to buy the tablet, and when I bought the tablet, he didn't
Oh
work.
my
with whatever.
God. He didn't even do nothing.
Here you go, sir.
You have ID?
No, I don't. My
You got
name's
anything with your name on
Shawan
it?
Hill. Fuck, no.
Sir.
Okay.
I just came over to get my phone. You see, I don't have a purse or nothing.
Mr. Adam
And my
knows
daughter
me,
is on her
man.
way to get me.
What's his deal?
I don't
Mr. Adam
know.
knows me, sir.
That's
His
my
deal, he
ex.
just-
I don't know.
Why is he getting all squirrely and not showing us his hands and just being all weird like that?
Because he's been shot before. You know
Well, I
what?
get that, but still, when officers say get out of the car,
Going
is he drunk? Is he on something?
No, he got a thing going on. I'm telling you
What
about
does
the
that mean?
police. We have problems all the time when they come, especially when that man took that gun like that. It's been one.
What's your first name?
He's
His
pretty
name is
good.
George Floyd.
What is it?
He's a good guy. George Floyd, she said.
Can you spell that?
I don't know how to spell George, sir.
Her name.
My name is, my name.
Your name, yeah.
Renee Hill.
Can you spell it?
S-H-A-W-A-N-D-A.
S-H-A-W.
Yeah, right, sir. He
Yeah, he
said,
okay.
but Mr. Adam,
Put him in the car.
Mr. Adam can
Shawanda what?
Hill. Renee, R-E-N-E-E.
What's your last name?
Hill, H-I-L-L.
And your date of
Is
birth?
y'all coming to get me 127.75? Okay.
Okay, well, so here's the thing. Someone passed a fake bill in there. We come over here, he starts grabbing for the keys and all that stuff. Starts getting weird, not showing us his hands. I don't know what's going on, so you're coming out of the car. So just hang tight right here. Stay right here, please.
Ouchie,
What
man.
are you on something right now?
No, nothing.
Because you acting
Yeah.
erratic.
Man, it's
Let's go.
scared, man.
Let's go.
God, man. Yes. Yes, I was just hooping earlier.
Let's go.
Man, what a... All right, let me calm down now. It's feeling a little better now.
Keep walking.
Like, okay, now, do me one favor, man.
No, when we get to the car, let's get to the car, man. Come on.
Dang, man. Oh, man. God, don't leave me, man. Please, man, don't leave me, man.
Here. I want to watch that car too, so get him in.
Stand up, stop falling down. Stand up. Stay on your feet and face the car door.
You get a search on him?
No. Please, can I talk to you, man? I just want to talk to you, man. Please, let me talk to you, please.
Man, you ain't listening to nothing we're saying, so we're not going to listen to nothing you're saying.
Can you watch that car? Just make sure no one goes in it.
I hear you, but you are going to face the door right now.
Listen up, stop.
I'll do anything. I'll do anything y'all tell me to do, man. I'm not a resistor, man. I'm not. You can ask him. They know me here.
Check that side.
God, man, I'm going to do nothing like that, y'all. Why is it going on like this? Look at my wrist, Mr. Officer. I'm not that kind of guy.
The other side.
Mr. Officer, I'm not that kind of guy.
Stop.
You please? I'm not that kind of guy, Mr. Officer. Please.
Face away.
Please, man. Don't leave me by myself, man. Please. I'm just claustrophobic. That's it.
Well, you're still going in the car.
Anything sharp on you?
I won't do nothing to hurt y'all, Mr.
find anything
Officer.
sharp
No,
on you?
sir.
Not even like a comb or nothing?
Nothing, because I don't have nothing. Why y'all doing me like that, Mr. Officer? Please crack it doing it for me and stuff, man. I am claustrophobic for real, Mr. Officer.
You got him?
Can you please crack it for me, please?
Yes, I'll
Remember my
crack
name.
it.
Stay with me, man.
I will.
Please stay with me, man. Thank you. God, man. I didn't know all this was going to happen, man. Please, man. I just want my hands free. I don't want to do none of y'all, man. Nothing.
You got it?
Inside in your pocket real quick on your shirt.
Hey,
I'm listening.
and I understand that people do stuff and
All right, he's good. That's guns, whatever. No, nothing weapons.
Okay.
Grab a seat.
Okay. Having trouble walking.
Because that was my
I'll roll the windows down, okay?
Please, man. Please don't do this.
Take a seat.
I'm going in, Mr. Officer. I'm going in.
No, you're not.
I gotta go in.
Take a seat.
Grab a seat, man.
Man, y'all don't believe me, Mr. Officer.
Take a seat.
I'm not that kind of guy. I'm not that kind of guy, man.
Take a seat.
Y'all, I'm gonna die in here.
Take a seat.
I'm gonna die, man.
You need to take a seat right now.
And I just had COVID, man. I don't want to go back to that.
Okay, I'll roll the windows
No.
down. Hey, listen.
Dang, man.
Listen.
I'm not that kind of guy.
I'll roll the windows down
Please,
and you pull
man.
your legs in, all right? I'll
Y'all
put the air on.
stop. Look at that. Look at that.
Not even listening.
Look at it. Look at it.
We can fix
Look.
it, but not while you're standing out
Okay,
here.
man. God, y'all do me bad, man. Man, I don't want to try to win. I don't want to try to win. I don't want to win. I'm claustrophobic.
You ain't gonna win.
I'm claustrophobic and I got anxiety. I don't want to do nothing to
I'll
them.
roll the window down.
Man, I'm scared as fuck, man. When I start breathing, it's gonna go off on me, man.
Pull your legs in.
Okay. Let me count to three. Let me count to three and I'm going in. Please. I'm not trying to win. I get on the ground, anything. I can't stand this shit, man. He know it. He know it too, Mr. Officer. Don't do me like that, man. In the car. Okay, can I talk to you, please?
As you get in this car, we can talk.
I'm claustrophobic.
I'm hearing you, but you're not working with me.
God, I'm claustrophobic, man.
Get in the
I'll have
car.
your butt over here. I'm going to pull you in.
In the
Can you
car.
put me in the front? Please.
No, you're not getting in the
I'm
front.
claustrophobic, Mr. Officer.
Get in the car.
Okay, man, okay. I'm not a bad guy, man.
Get in the car.
I'm not a bad guy. Man. Open my doors. Please, Mr. Officer. Please.
Sit.
Please.
Take a seat.
Please, man. Please. No.
Take a seat.
I can't choke. I can't breathe, Mr. Officer. Please.
Okay, fine.
My wrist, man. Please. I can't take that, man. I can't. I'm gonna lay on the ground.
Getting in the squad.
I'm gonna lay on the ground. I'm going down.
Get in the squad.
I'm going down. I'm not going to breathe, man.
Bro, you like that a heart attack shit, man. Get in the car.
I know I can't breathe.
Talking to me. Take my oxygen back.
I just had COVID, man. I can't breathe. Please, man. Please listen to me.
Is he going to
Please
jail?
listen to me.
He's under arrest right now for forgery.
I can't.
Okay, go figure out what's going on.
For what?
Just take them out and just
For what? Please,
MRE.
man. I can't fucking breathe.
Here, come on out.
Look at you. Thank you.
Yeah, just when you get up the...
On the ground.
I appreciate that. I do.
You got your restraint. Hobble.
I can't breathe. I can't breathe.
Jesus
I can't breathe.
Thank you.
Stop moving.
Mama. Mama.
Yeah.
Mama. Mama.
One of the front couches.
Mama.
On my right side bag.
Mama. Mama.
Get EMS code too. You're on
the rest guy.
All right. All right. Oh my God.
So you go to jail.
I can't believe this. I can't believe this. I can't believe this. I can't believe this, man. Mama, I love you. Reese, I love you.
You got hobble?
Tell my kids I love them. I'm dead.
Mine's in my side. It's listed. It's labeled. It says hobble. It's on the top.
I can't breathe for nothing, man. It's cold-blooded, man.
You're doing a lot of
Mama, I love you. I can't do nothing.
Yeah, EMS is on their way.
My face is gone.
Well, do you want to hobble at this point then?
I can't breathe, man.
Okay.
Please.
All right.
Please let me stand.
No.
Please, man, I can't breathe.
You get up on the sidewalk, please. One side or the other, please.
My face getting bad.
Here, should we get his legs up?
Oh
Or
my
just
God.
good?
No, just leave them.
Oh my
Just
God.
leave them. Yep, just leave them.
All right.
I'm dead.
Hopefully, Park's still sitting on the car. They were.
Look at my
He
face,
was acting very
man.
little shady, like someone was in there. I'm assuming so.
I believe so. We found a
He
pipe.
wouldn't get out of the car. He wasn't following instructions.
Please.
Yeah, it's across the street. Park's watching it.
Please.
2 other people with
Please,
him.
I can't breathe. Please, man. Please, somebody help me.
You can probably step it up then. You got it?
Please, man, somebody help me. Relax. I can't breathe.
You're talking.
Fine, you're talking fine.
Deep breath.
I can't breathe. I can't breathe. My body's just tired this day.
Relax.
Man, I can't breathe my face. Just get up.
He's got to be on something.
What do you want?
I can't breathe. Please, the knee in my neck. I can't breathe shit.
Get up, get in the car, man.
I will. I can't move.
That is.
Mama.
On a weed pipe on him, there might be something else with it. Might be like PCP or something. Is that the shaking of the eyes, right? Is PCP?
My knee. My neck.
Where their eyes like shake
I'm
back and forth
through.
really fast?
I'm through. I'm claustrophobic. My stomach hurts. My neck hurts. Everything hurts. There's water or something. Please. Please.
Sweet.
I can't breathe, officer.
Talking, not
They
yelling.
will kill me. They will kill me, man.
Takes a heck of a lot of oxygen.
Come on, man. I cannot breathe. I cannot breathe. They'll kill me. They'll kill me. I can't breathe. I can't breathe.
We tried that for 10 minutes.
Please. Please. Please.
You roll him on the side. I just worry about the delirium or whatever.
Well, that's fine. Man, yeah, that's coming.
Okay, I suppose.
It's hard to talk when you're bro, but it's hard to talk to the ground. You're being a bum right now. You can get him off the ground, bro. You can get him off the ground, you're being a bum right now. He enjoying that. He enjoying that shit. He enjoying that shit. He a fucking bum, bro. He enjoying that shit right now, bro. You could have fucking put him in the car right now, bro. He's not resisting the rest of the shit. He enjoying it. Look at you. Your body language explains it. You're fucking bum. Yeah, I already know that, bro. I trained with half of these bum-ass dudes at the academy, bro. You know that's bogus right now, bro. You know it's bogus. You can't look at me like a man because you're a bum, bro. You're not even resisting arrest right now, bro.
Yeah, I think he's just passing out.
You're breathing right now, bro. You think that's cool? You think that's cool, all right?
There's all that is available if you could start for an assault at next door to 2313 Washington Street.
That's all right, though.
Yeah, I mean,
Good so far.
my knee might be a little scratched, but I'll survive.
You're a bum, bro. You're a bum for that. You're a bum for that, bro. I think you get mad. You see here. Stop being breathing right now. You about to fall
He's
out
breathing.
right now, bro. Bro.
Right?
You gonna choke him like that? Yeah, I know what you want to do. I'm not serious, bro. Pussy ass dude, bro.
Don't come over here. Don't come over here.
Up on the sidewalk.
Yeah, we need you to keep them different. Yeah, you gotta have them come on. Back off! Get off! Get off the
He's not responsive right now. He's not
Roll him on the side.
responsive right now. He's not responsive right now, bro. Bro, look at him. He's not responsive right now, bro. Bro, are you serious? He's gonna
Got one?
do that with that on his neck, bro? Is he breathing right now? Check his pulse. Check his pulse. Check his pulse, Kyle. Kyle, check his pulse. Kyle, check his pulse, bro. Bro, check his pulse, bro. He's
Crying in the suspect has a gun pointed at
What is that? What do you think that is? You call when he doing okay? You call when he doing okay? You call what you doing? You call when he doing okay, bro?
Yes, I am from Minneapolis.
Bro, you think that's okay? Check his pulse.
Check it right
Now,
now.
check his pulse. Check. The man ain't moved yet, bro. The man ain't moved yet, bro. Bro, you're a bum, bro. You're a bum, bro. You're definitely a bum, bro.
330 EMS at Portland and 36. They were advised of
Bro, he has not moved.
They advise what?
I called 3. Acknowledge that.
Okay, that's cool. Go back.
copy of you can see their updated location there. Restraint.
There we go.
Bro, he was just moving when I walked up to you. Bro, you just get up. You just get back out. Bro, he doesn't have it. Bro, he's not fucking moving. Bro, you can see that he's stepping, bro. You're a bum, bro.
Not responsive right now. You guys might want to.
Right now.
Bro, he's not even fucking moving. Get off of his fucking neck, bro. Get off of his neck. Yeah, look at that, bro. Are you serious?
Should we get another car? Get another car just for crowd.
Let's get them on.
You're a bitch, bro. How you gonna let him kick that like that? You gonna let him kick that man in front of you, bro? Huh?
Like what?
Bro, he's not even fucking moving right now, bro. He's not even fucking moving, bro. Bro, 97 bro. You gonna just sit there with your knee on his neck, bro? You a real man for that, bro. He ain't handing up,
You guys can get out of the way.
Don't touch me. Don't touch me. Don't touch me. Don't touch me.
Need this?
How funny would it be if I said, look, Ma, no hands, and then just dropped the mug and made the interns clean
It'd be disgusting.
It wouldn't be funny at all.
Oh, it would be wonderful. Good morning. We're starting a little early today. By the way, you can use the hashtag, is it Crowder Chauvin trial?
There it is.
I keep saying Crowder
Stream.
Chauvin because I'm French Canadian.
Crowder Chauvin stream.
I speak it properly. I'm an affected bitch. So we have Gerald here. We have Quarter Black Garrett here. We have Dave Landau. You can follow him on the Twitter at Dave Landau, right? Or Landau Dave.
At Landau Dave.
Landau Dave. And that's wonderful because before we are going to be covering the Derek Chauvin trial, the opening statements here today. Let us know. We may be covering it throughout the week. I don't know how long it will go. This is kind of a little free flow, but you can follow Dave because you can't follow me on Twitter. I've been suspended again. For what reason? Here's what's funny about this one. So I was suspended last week, okay? And then I was unsuspended, and I posted one tweet, which resulted in my next suspension immediately. And the tweet was... So Twitter has publicly stated to Congress that it fairly enforces its policies and provides detailed information about alleged violations. Yesterday, they suspended me for the third time in a month, refusing to list a reason or a tweet in question. And I think we have the overlay here. They never gave me a reason. It says reason or violation,
right?
And it's blank. You would think, like, just put in a middle finger emoji.
Something.
Just make something up.
Just make something up.
Yeah.
Racism, blah, blah, blah. But the point here is, the only tweet that went up from my previous suspension to my new suspension is the one criticizing Twitter for the suspension. So now Twitter will suspend you for simply pointing out that they are suspending people without cause. There's clearly no violation unless it's saying that, look, they've testified saying that they give you a reason. So you know what? Whatever.
I thought it started as 24 hours, right? And then it moved to 7 days?
Now it's 6 days.
So what if you try to log in, does it reset the clock every time again, like last time?
I have no idea.
I really just use Twitter now. I put a joke occasionally, but mainly just for advertisements for shows.
Right.
Because why bother?
Right.
It just upsets everybody, no matter what you say.
Right. Well, especially Jack Dorsey.
Yes, he's a real prick.
He's an absolute prick on his island with his blood-stained volleyball.
Well done!
Oh my gosh, it's the worst beard ever.
You shouldn't grow it if that's what it looks like.
Yeah, you should cut it off.
We don't have a drinking game today.
No.
We have a fentanyl game.
Oh boy.
Oh my.
Oh my word. Okay, we're going to give you a little bit of context.
Did you see what I was doing in the bathroom? Is that what this is about?
We do have security cameras in the bathroom. It's a private business. If you don't like it, take a walk.
Sobriety over.
So we want to watch this along with you, and of course, if you want to follow me, you can join me at Mug Club, louderwithcrowder.com/mugclub. Opinions here before we go to the trial. Let me give you a little bit of setup, and then we'll go to. That's why we just showed you the full 20-minute arrest. We have some technical issues, I guess. Let me know, Tokenawa, once we're good. Give me a thumbs up so that I don't feel like I'm walking a tightrope here. So Chauvin. Sorry if I say Chauvin. It's just because Chauvin is tabarnak, c'est Chauvin.
Oh, geez.
C'est comme... Hey, m'a te montrer comment qu'on sert d'un fentanyl.
Oh, jeez. I'm not sure what you said, but it's horrible.
I actually have a lot of fans in French Canada.
Do you really?
Yeah, there are apparently some conservatives out there.
Do you speak au français?
I do. That was my first language.
What do you think just happened, Dave?
I don't know what has happened.
Hey,
I'm not by
sound like gibberish to me.
Oui, je parle français.
I only speak street, Jared.
Oh.
Come on,
Gerald.
I know his name.
I don't know.
I just
can't tell anymore.
I like to just throw it out there to see what people correct me.
So he has 3 charges against
Gerald.
Chauvin. It's second-degree manslaughter, second-degree unintentional murder, third-degree murder. Judge Cahill previously dropped the third-degree murder charge, saying that it didn't apply. Now we have as defined by Minnesota law, to give you context, second-degree manslaughter would require, this says, by the person's culpable negligence whereby the person creates an unreasonable risk and consciously takes chances of causing death or great bodily harm to another. So these charges don't seem to apply here.
Yeah.
And we have some, let me see, what do we have? Remember, keep in mind, too, as far as how biased this is, earlier in the trial, they did, and let me be clear, I think we all have sort of opinions.
Yeah.
That's why we showed the 20-minute arrest, where you see the full footage. Yeah. What I do not think this is an example of is of an officer going out and lynching a black guy.
Right.
I think this is an officer, several officers, who were incredibly patient, a man who was incredibly non-compliant, who was very high, who was distraught, who had COVID, and after 20 minutes of refusing to comply, I think then you had an officer who was frustrated, used the proper police protocol to put his knee on his neck, which I think is horrible protocol, and then didn't follow rolling him over to his side because he didn't want to take chances because he couldn't control him.
Yeah.
That being said, obviously George Floyd, not a saint. This is a man who, picture this, it matters because the officer knew this. The officer knew George Floyd, and we were told the officer Chauvin knew George Floyd. They worked at the same nightclub, therefore it must be racism. Or maybe he knew that George Floyd jammed a pistol into a lady's stomach in front of her toddler during an armed, violent home invasion, okay? And so you don't take those chances with someone who is that big, has a history of that much violence, and is high out of his mind. That being said, I don't think Chauvin. How do people say it in America?
Chauvin?
Chauvin is a saint either. I think there were mistakes all around. It's a tragedy, but certainly not an example of a modern day lynching, and certainly not indicative of the non-existent statistics of unarmed black men being shot through. That was the last epidemic before the pandemic.
Right.
We have an epidemic of unarmed black men being shot. Well, that's not true. More unarmed white men are shot, and far more police officers are shot by black men.
Yeah, and we wouldn't really be bringing up a lot of their history unless people were saying, you know, this cop is horrible and a racist, and we're like, okay, well, let's look at the facts and see if that's true. Well, it doesn't look like that's true, and it doesn't look like this was motivated by that. Okay, now George Floyd is a saint. Well, it doesn't look like that's true, and it also looks like the police officers knew that wasn't true when they stopped him. Like, all of these things matter because they've been put out there, right? They did murals of George Floyd like he's the second coming.
Well, actually, not too long ago, they actually compared him at the jury selection to Jesus Christ. Here you go.
Your Honor, we would agree that specifically as worded, the court could grant this with respect to the, shall we say, parties identified specifically in that motion.
I have to ask, how did this even become a motion? How did this become a possible answer at trial?
I think, Your Honor, one of our witnesses mentioned something like this. We do not, in context, Your Honor, I don't really want to go into.
You can prepare your witness by telling them that analogy absolutely will not come anywhere close to being admitted.
Really understood, Your Honor.
Under Rule 403.
Yep.
Well, that seems pretty self-explanatory. Hey, really quickly, we're having a problem here with our trial. We're going to pause the show for 2 or 3 minutes and be right back so we don't miss the trial. We have some more clips for you and fentanyl games. Right back.
Don't go anywhere.
Protests continue across the country this evening, and we want you to know, of course, that though there are some individual protesters who are agitated, it is not the norm. These protests are largely peaceful. Many people look back at the demonstrations at Selma and wonder, what would I have done? Would I have marched across that bridge, or would I be standing on the other side? Well, I have an answer for you, and my answer is a question. What are you doing now? Now, Tanya, how would you describe the attitude on the ground there? We go now live to our woman in the field, Tanya Franks. Tanya?
Well, Chris, first I want to say that was inspiring. Not many today have the courage to say what you just did. Your wife is a lucky woman.
Well, that's very kind of you to say, Tanya. And might I say you look positively dishy this evening.
Well, as far as the attitude on the ground, you know, folks are entirely peaceful, but far from happy. Just imagine if every day when you left home, you didn't know whether you'd be coming back.
Black power!
You might be a little upset too.
Well, Tanya, in my line of work, that's always a possibility, but I know that many in the audience might not understand what that's like. No. Tanya, was that a man on fire?
Hard to tell with the flames, Chris. Might have been a really muscular lady.
So, Tanya, what are the people on the ground saying there?
Yeah, we gonna burn this motherfucker down, 313, bitch.
That's right, CVS is open for business, y'all. Take what you need, motherfuckers.
A fitting tribute to the memory of George Floyd, Chris.
Yeah. Yo, who that?
Yo, that's a motherfucker with a grill.
Charged evening, to be certain. Now, some people are asking, why is this happening now? Haven't things gotten better? But there are still persistent and pervasive inequities in this country, and these protests are a reaction to that. And aside from a string of isolated incidents, very small, things have been pretty peaceful, very tame. Any final thoughts, Tanya? Oh, hello, sir. What's your name? I'm sorry, that was unfair. Allow me to reframe the question, good sir. Where, might I ask, is Tanya?
Oh, she dead? Oh. Yo, I got an Apple Watch, dog. Yeah.
The language of the unheard. We'll be right back. There we go. That's the sound of getting it right this time. There's no sip.
No.
The sip only happens once. The sip only happens once. Sorry
And then it's
for the
gone.
Technical difficulties. We're all set. We have Gerald, Dave Landau, Dave, Quarter Black Garrett. So we are now, we're waiting on Court TV.
Yeah.
Because they're the least likely to copyright strike us. Thank you for being back with us. The promo, well, not the promo code, the hashtag is Crowder Chauvin stream.
Chauvin.
If I say Chauvin, shut up. Okay, everybody watching, just shut up.
Correct.
I've had this so many times. I think you were with me when I was ordering one time.
Le Fin du Monde.
I was like, Fin du, and I know it's Fin du Monde is the right way.
Yeah.
It's a beer, and I'm trying to say it the wrong way for. I go, Fin du Monde. She goes, I don't know.
What is that?
The Fin de Monde. I'm like, sure. That's like, we don't have it. And I go, okay, then I'll take that. The word is modit. I'm like, the modite. I'm like, you're getting no tip. Let's hear right now. Judge hears motions before opening statements. Let's go to this, and then I have some clips and some pretext for you.
Analysis of that situation.
Is that the
That's
public?
the relevant.
Is that the public defendant from My Cousin Vinny? It's already.
Yes.
That Mr. Floyd was trying or wanted to resist arrest, that he was trying to fight with the officers intentionally, that he was
Is this from us, or is their audio that bad?
I think their audio.
I think that is, yeah.
Okay, can we have someone in the control room check other streams of the court trial and see if there's a better one?
I'm just glad nobody's going to get COVID in that room.
Yes, him with his turtle shell mask. What does that have, bolts on the side?
It looks like it's drilled into his face.
It looks like it's drilled into his face.
It's very much a Bane type.
Yeah, or the poison.
Why? To clarify what we see as,
why do you think he did what he did?
You do not need to kneel on his neck.
I think it's rather
I spent time in prison.
Wanted to bring it to the court's attention so we could.
Then I wear this mask after a bunch of men grabbed me. Think about it.
As far as Mr. Chauvin's intent or knowledge, or
Chauvin?
vis-a-vis that.
All right, so
are they all on
the
fentanyl?
motions right? Yeah, I don't know if they're all on fentanyl right now. We already had the clip of them referring to George Floyd as Jesus Christ, which it will not be admissible, thank God.
No.
Yeah, goodness.
So this has resulted in Bill H.R. 1280, which is, of course, the George Floyd policing bill. Hey, it's always nice when you commit multiple violent felonies and jam a pistol into a lady's gut with her toddler watching, and you get a policing bill named after you.
Well, that's exciting.
And murals. Everybody
and
loves
murals. Yeah. It's always, it's like Che Guevara. He gets murals.
Well,
great guy.
I really do think the end there was not good. I'm going to go ahead and say it. I think it was bad.
Oh, yeah, I think it was bad too. Listen, I think this thing is a tragedy all around, but
less than ideal.
The problem is they're using this to try and create a new bill based on the idea that this was simply a racist cop going out and attacking a black man.
Yeah.
And that's not true. So the bill withholds funds from departments that do not ban chokeholds. There was no chokehold applied, just to be clear. Labels chokehold civil rights violation. So I guess you'd rather be beaten by a nightstick. Yeah, okay. Bans racial profiling. Okay, I don't know what that means. Yeah. How do you ban racial profiling if someone commits a robbery and they're white, blonde hair, right? If they look like you.
Yeah. Can you imagine
if they look like me? If they look like George Floyd?
Well, they just describe you.
Right.
Well, no, you can't. That's what we're saying. Like now, it's like, all right. Well, what do you look like? Well, he was.
Yeah, he was Are you singing Beach Boys? I am, because I'm uncomfortable and there's an autonomous zone behind me.
The news has been doing that forever, though, where they just try to dance around who you're looking for. They're like, he's 6'5",
right?
Probably likes grape drink,
dark hair,
unless he's white.
Dark eyes.
They go, the shooter who was white, and you're like, actually, he was Arab. The shooter who was of unidentified race. Well, okay, let's just review.
Well, he's white until he's not.
Yeah.
Right. But there was a lot of times in this country where that was the opposite.
Right.
So
ends qualified immunity, which means that they can be civilly liable police officers. A lot of people don't understand that. That means that any time a cop even if it's fully justified, if someone is shooting a police member currently, and the man returns fire and the person dies, the family can sue him, just like
which
in
will
a civil
happen
court.
every.
It'll happen
time
every
almost.
single time. National Police Misconduct Registry available to the public. Okay, I understand the idea of having a national registry available to the public seems like a problem. Considering that you get banned from Twitter, it's considered doxing if you just say, hey, Ilhan Omar is at the office today signing a crappy bill.
Right.
I think there's a pretty important registry that's already out there, too.
Yeah.
I think it's,
And just to keep in mind, too, they won't be talking about this, the toxicology report.
Yeah.
Fentanyl, methamphetamine, marijuana, and of course he had COVID. So in any other scenario, this would be listed as a COVID death. Not saying that's what happened.
Right.
Just like I don't think the guy who tried to blow his head off with a shotgun in Michigan was a COVID death. But there we are. He was listed as one. So this is a remarkable inconsistency. And the truth is this is going to be used to set a narrative, which is important, that, we need to fix the problem right now. This is the bill. We need to fix the problem of unarmed black men being shot en masse from police officers. That's not happening.
No, and this isn't even a case of police brutality necessarily. This is a case of poor training or poor execution of training, right?
Right.
At a certain point, you have to roll this guy over, and we'll get to all of those things. But people are using this, like you said, to justify a whole slew of changes, like defunding police officers around the country,
right? Which
doesn't really work out so well as well.
So a 2,000% increase in homicide in Seattle and in Portland and certain areas of the country. You know, if you're getting away now with only a multi-100% increase in violent crime and homicide in major cities, you're actually doing really well.
You're like the Rudy Giuliani.
You are doing really well. You are tough on crime.
I think you're including Chaz numbers.
Right, yes.
It's a totally different place.
It's technically a republic.
It's its own country.
Sure, they can't sustain themselves with an open Starbucks.
Yeah,
I've
but
been
still.
the great people. Okay.
Look,
Yeah,
they
are
did
very
what
nice.
third world countries do. They waited for us to give them bottled water and food.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Which, by the way, while we're talking about this, we'll talk about this tomorrow or whenever we're not doing the trial show. This idea that in Georgia they're banning people from giving water to folks in that's not true. It's not true at all. You can't. Anyway, it's not true. It's bullshit. If it sounds like bullshit, smells like bullshit, probably bullshit. It's bullshit. We'll talk about it. Just don't believe it for a second, despite what Chris Wallace says.
Oh my gosh.
Bro, why can't you give water to people in voting lines? You're an idiot, and I hate you, Chris Wallace. So let's get to the epidemic really quickly before we move on. This is the narrative they want to set, and if this guy does not fry, there will be riots in the street.
Oh, yeah.
Our Korean-in-chief here actually made a good point. He said, this is kind of like my OJ, only in reverse.
Yeah.
And it mirrors, when you think about it, OJ after Rodney King, the riots, right? This is a guy who obviously was allegedly guilty. Well, guilty in the civil court. And because of the racial tension, because of the issue, because they didn't want to deal with these ramifications with these riots, they let the guy go. In this case, it's post-riots. We're talking about $2 billion in damages, over 900 officer casualties, tens of people who were killed in the Black Lives Matter. These are the most violent, expensive riots that have ever taken place in American history. And people don't want more of this to happen, and so they're going to have to convict this guy, whether in any other scenario he would be convicted or not. Now, this is being used to set a narrative, and I just want to set the stage here really, really quickly, that police are shooting unarmed black men in rec. It is not true. So 2019 is the last time we have these full numbers. 9 unarmed black men were shot by police. 19 unarmed white men. Now, I know you're saying, yeah, but they make up a higher percentage of the population. But, actually, 53% of known homicide offenders in the United States are black. 60% of robberies are black. So when you consider that violent crime is committed disproportionately, and I hate that this has to come out of my mouth. I hate that I have to say black, white, but the fact is right now they're going to be talking about white, black. I was listening to NPR this morning. I said, Derek Chauvin, who is white, shot unarmed, put his knee on the neck of unarmed George Floyd, who is black. That was in there.
Yeah, exactly.
So you have to respond to it.
But let me touch on the statistics thing you said. You're absolutely right. It doesn't matter what the percentage of the population is. When you use statistics, you have to use them in a way that is precise and actionable. You don't want the population number. You want the cop interaction number. How many people of all the different races are the police interacting with, and what are the outcomes?
Yeah.
That shows a much different picture.
Well, that's also important, the interactions. Do you know, you probably don't know this, do you know how much more likely a police officer is to be shot or killed by a black male than he is to shoot an unarmed black male? If you take a guess, how much more likely is it for a police officer to be killed by a black man than
I don't want to.
18 and a half times.
Wow.
A police officer is 18 and a half times.
I wouldn't know how to even gauge the percentage. Well, I guess what I'm wondering, though, is what is conviction versus arrest rate? Because there could be an argument there inside the system once. Like, yeah, sure, more black people may be convicted, but how many arrests were there compared to the two races?
Well, substantially more.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, substantially more.
The interactions, it's off the charts. In fact, the Black Lives Matter group before this had been making the argument for decades that police were just stopping black people randomly. So it takes the numbers into astronomical figures. There's no way.
I'm just playing Derek advocate.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate. So here we have. So I have this number exactly. 53% of known homicide offenders in this country are black. 60% of robberies, but they make up only 25% of those shot by police.
Okay.
So half in relation to the crimes committed, and police officers are 18 and a half times more likely to be shot, or to be killed by a black man than shooting an unarmed black man. And by the way, of these 9 unarmed black men who were shot in 2019. One of the unarmed black men tried to run over the officer with his car.
Oh,
so a car
technically, he's like,
that's a deadly weapon.
Motherfucker! I mean, think about that for a second. Like,
really
these
bad
things
excuse.
matter. A car is not armed, but he's trying to run over a police officer.
Right.
The point is, if you try and overcorrect and now make sure that police officers cannot do their job, and you defund them because of systemic racism, which statistically does not exist in the police force, then we have a problem.
Yeah.
And that's why the majority of black Americans don't want less of a police presence. They want at least the same amount as they have now, or more. Do we need police reform? Sure. We need to make sure that unions aren't as strong in the police as they are, this wall of silence. Yeah. We need to make sure that police have their authority constrained to constitutional parameters. I have a problem with police. Who do you think they would have to send out to round up people with the executive orders with firearms?
Yeah.
Probably police officers. When I see police officers arresting ladies at soccer games because they're not wearing their double mask, that's a problem. That being said, we need to address the real issue and not the race baiting that is taking place in the mainstream media, and that's what's going on today.
Yeah, and you can't do that until people start to actually look at what the problem is. And I think, Dave, that's what we're trying to do, is to set it up and say, look, there is a problem. We need to solve it, but what is the problem? It's not what they're saying it is, that you're just going to get shot randomly by police officers because you're black. So what really is going on?
Well, that is obviously a message that people want to put out, and there's no denying that. But at the same time, how do you solve something that's an individual basis when you're painting it as a broad stroke? It doesn't really work.
Right.
It's all an individual thing. This particular situation, the guy who kneeled on his neck, I think personally was an asshole and was responsible for his death. He took it too far at the end when he didn't need to.
Right.
Now, that's not speaking for the other police. That's not talking about cops across this country who are now being accused of it, or them getting defunded because of a singular situation.
Right.
That's the problem, is we're taking single things done by individuals and putting color stamps on them, and that's dangerous.
And I would take it even a step further and say, I would give this guy more leeway, Officer Chauvin, than you are, for a couple of reasons. This is what they were trained to do, to put the knee on. So you're talking about the knee on the neck. They're trained by the police department to put the knee on the neck. It's very stupid. It's also not an asphyxiation. But we need to acknowledge the fact that they train police officers in this department to do what he did. They train them to turn someone over afterward, which he did not do. But that wasn't the media outcry. The media was, why would you put your knee in his neck?
Yeah.
Because he was taught to. So your problem here is with the police training department. And I've been saying this for a long time. We've had Jocko on.
Oh, yeah.
Police, before they go out, they should have 6 months of concentrated combat training, grappling training, Brazilian submission training, so that they don't have to go to their tool belt, whether it's a taser, whether it's a firearm, or if you're a silly beat cop in the Untouchables or all of the UK, a billy club. Right?
Spin it around.
I think that they shouldn't have to. So they need better training. But here is actually, we have a clip of them showing that this was the training for the police officers. He didn't just do this rogue.
The officers were holding Floyd in what attached MPD training materials call maximal restraint technique. The training materials include a photograph of an officer with his knee on the suspect's neck. This comes despite MPD Chief Madera Arredondo repeatedly saying after the death of George Floyd that officers are not trained to put their knee on the suspect's neck.
That's the problem with the lie.
The same training materials say the suspect should be turned to his side in what's called a recovery position, which the body camera transcript shows Lane asked a second time. This time, Chauvin didn't answer.
Right. Now, the issue there is it doesn't say how long until you roll someone over to the recovery position.
Right.
Either. Usually, the precedent that's been set here is once someone stops struggling, once someone is no longer a threat. Now, that being said, as far as I disagree with you, and that's okay. I disagree with you on Chauvin being an asshole, because I think all the way up until this point, he was incredibly lenient. That's why we showed it before this stream, the 20-minute arrest. There have been officers who've been shot in far less unruly scenarios.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think we have a shorter montage here of them trying to get him into the car. Keep in mind, George Floyd says his mom just died. She died 2 years ago. He's not putting his hands up when they ask. He's asking them to put the air on if they have heated seats and a sunroof, and they're saying, we're going to stay there with you. We're going to open the windows.
Saying, I can't breathe.
Calm down. Saying, I can't breathe.
Yeah.
The second they cuff him, okay, just to be clear, again, we were told that he said, I can't breathe once he was on the ground, and the cop ignored him. No, that's the very first thing he went to try and avoid being cuffed. Here's a montage.
We're trying to get out of the street here so you don't get hit by a car.
You
got him?
Could you please crack it for me? Please.
Yes, I'll crack it.
Stay with me, man.
I will.
Please stay with me, man. Thank you.
I'll roll the windows down and put your legs in, all right? I'll
Y'all
put the air on.
stop.
Step out and face away.
Okay, please don't shoot me. Please, man.
I'm not going to shoot you. Step out and face away.
I'm going to get out of eye, man. Please don't shoot me, man.
I'm not shooting you, man.
Please, man.
So here's the thing. Someone passed a fake bill in there. We come over here, he starts grabbing for the keys, all that stuff.
Leprechaun in the hood?
Starts getting weird, not showing us his hands. I don't know what's going on, so you're coming out of the car. So just hang tight right here.
So this is important because right away he's saying, I'm not going, they talk about, why don't they de-escalate? I'm not going to shoot you. Please put your hands above your, hey, I'm going to stay with you. I'll stay with you. All the sources, by the way, will be available at louderwithcrowder.com, including the 20-minute tape. I'm going to stay with you. I'll open the windows. Don't shoot me. I'm not going to shoot you. Okay? I'm not going to shoot you. Please comply. And then he has two perfectly reasonable interactions with the other two people involved.
Yeah.
So I think that, yes, at this point, and then it gets increasingly violent. The guy increasingly resists arrest, and he asks to be put on the ground.
Yeah, well, and I think,
and then he didn't roll him over. That's the issue there. Which again, now we're at the point with there isn't malicious intent on the outset. This wasn't just random racial profiling. He was non-compliant, and then with a rule book that they're used in their training to kneel on the neck and turn them over, he didn't do the last part. Okay, what kind of a charge should that be? Right. That's where I.
Well, what isn't the last thing called the resurrect though? I mean, isn't that the recovery? Sorry, resurrect. Very close.
That's
Jesus Christ. Jesus says yes. It's almost Easter, boys.
Put your hand through my side, man.
But it is true. That's the recovery position. It feels like that's the most important of all the positions to put somebody in to keep them alive.
Well, I don't think so. It's not called the recovery position to keep people alive. It's called the recovery position because now you've subdued the perpetrator, or whatever it is. You've got them on their side. Now you can get them up and into the car. Right? You're getting them into. It's not saying, oh, you're about to kill them, but you roll them over so that you don't kill them.
I think what you're trying to say is the cashier should have just taken the 20.
No, I think all of the context to this matters, and I think so many people form their opinions. Not you, Dave, but a number of people form their opinions.
No, Dave,
just on the last 5 minutes of the video that we saw, kneeling on the neck, and not understanding, like never having dealt with somebody who's been on drugs. I've heard story after story after story of somebody on PCP. Lane even asked, he's like, "Hey, do you guys think he's on PCP or something?" Yeah, those guys have strength that you have no idea where it comes from. Right?
Oh yeah,
tons of bodily.
Well, I think we have a hunch.
Well,
it's a PCP.
Yeah. Well, basically, it makes you get naked, and it gives you the strength of 10 men.
Yeah, I had a friend who was a police officer, one of my jiu-jitsu coaches, and there was a guy on PCP, and what he did was he stripped down naked. Yeah. He crapped in his hand, covered himself, and it said, "Who wants to catch me?" And he was a new police officer, so they said, "All right, you're up."
Go.
That's you, boy.
Yeah, exactly.
Which actually is pretty clever.
Well, they sprayed him with poopery first.
Who wants to get me?
That worked. Yeah.
You're never gonna get me.
All of this, the context matters.
The context matters, but my question, so now that we've watched all of this, right, and we understand the context, we understand that there was training, we understand that this officer knew this man, we understand that this officer knew this man had a violent history, we understand that he was very accommodating for 20 minutes. Did it warrant the most violent, unruly, mostly peaceful riots that we've ever seen in our lives? Keep in mind, all of these riots over the course of the summer, and by the way, remember, the COVID ticker disappeared for 2 months.
For a little bit.
Yeah. It was all predicated on George Floyd and Derek Chauvin. Here's a little reminder, in case you've forgotten. Peaceful little.
It's mostly peaceful.
Peaceful little car lot fire.
Oh, nice.
That's a cool thing to yell.
Hey, by the way,
at least that's not a government building.
Update on the trial right now. The judge, I guess, he had walked away, and he said that they would get things started up again at 10:30 Eastern.
10:30 Eastern.
Yeah.
So that means in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So that's not bad. Good. Thank you. So I have a little bit of time. 112 Minneapolis officers filed disability claims due to PTSD.
Just
but
in Minneapolis.
It doesn't matter because just in Minneapolis. It doesn't matter because it wasn't at the Capitol. So okay. Minneapolis then had to spend. Remember, they wanted to defund the police.
Yeah.
Right.
Then they had to spend $6.4 million to recruit new police officers.
Ow.
I don't know why anyone would become a cop today.
No.
Oh, I can't imagine.
I can't imagine.
No.
Who signs up for it in Minneapolis? Like, you would have to pay them like $500,000 a year and be like, all right, here you go. Here's your new benefits.
Yeah. Minneapolis, Kenosha.
Yeah.
How are you going to have any police officers?
No. Oh, no.
No. Especially if you get rid of qualified immunity, because now you can be sued for anything.
Yeah.
You want to know what it's like? It's like being a doctor and operating on somebody and they die and there's nothing you did wrong, but you're getting sued anyway.
It's just, we're at the point where everything is so politicized. Keep in mind that this was from the Obama administration. This is overlay J if you're looking for it. This is a 2011 report that black males aged 14 to 24 commit homicide at 37 times the rate of the normal population. And here's the thing, is it because of melanin? No, despite what Elmo says. Okay?
Well, Elmo's pretty sure.
This melanin
down.
burnt down at Walgreens? No.
That's a good Elmo.
That's racist,
Spot
Elmo.
They look like Frank Yanker's puppets.
Yes, they do.
which is more fun.
This is just that it's not because they're black. Why? It's because I've got to tell you this too. This ties into the whole voting law thing in Georgia.
Yeah.
I can't think of anything more racist. I really can't. I was just sort of sitting there with my wife and hold on a second. Where they're saying this is voter suppression with voting.
Yeah.
This is how the left views black Americans, and it really is sad. They're saying, hey, black Americans can't afford to get ID.
Yeah.
Okay, well, you know what? It's free. Well, they can't get to the DMV. Okay, they can sign up for it online. Black people don't know how to use the internet. How racist is that shit when you think about it?
That was Biden that said that.
Yeah. So that's the issue here. It's the low expectations. Okay, the judge here is talking with his turtle shell mask.
Got his hand up.
During this trial, and follow the instructions.
Oh, he's swearing them in. Okay.
Yeah.
So let me know when it's
He's
something
doing
that we
the
need to
Vanilla Ice rap from Secret of the Ooze.
Yes. Go, Chauvin, go, Chauvin, go, go, go.
You're free.
And then Suge Knight dangles him from a balcony.
They should have Suge Knight in there just for no reason.
Yeah, just cause.
But there's black people can't get voter ID. They don't know how to use the internet.
Apparently,
and in this case, it's, well, they commit 37 times a crime because they're black. They commit that because police officers are more likely to shoot them. We know none of that is true. And they think that some of this will be fixed with $200 more per pupil spending in education.
Yeah.
Look, Black Lives Matter has decided to destroy. They've said that the nuclear family is a symbol of white patriarchy. Well, you know what? At one point, it was actually a symbol of black culture in this country because black families had a lower divorce rate.
Yeah.
They had more children and fewer divorces than what? And guess what? They were doing better familially as far as family at that point.
Yeah.
You know, literacy rates were increasing at a faster rate than after the Lyndon Johnson rules. It's for them to now say that's a symbol of white privilege is very clear that there has been a goal to systematically pull at the thread that allows for self-governance in this country, and that is the family unit. And considering that a huge percentage, a majority of young black men grow up without a dad, that's the single greatest indicator that you have. But no one can say it, and this is the problem. When all of this is based on a lie, guess what? You will hurt the black community more when your biggest spokespeople, your biggest mouthpiece, Black Lives Matter, says, we want fewer dads in the house.
Yeah. Absolutely. And
it's hard to have dads when Kamala keeps arresting them.
Well,
that's true.
Or banging them.
Yeah, that's true. One of the two. We always hear education is a silver bullet, man, and it will solve. Well, there's some truth to that, but the silver bullet is actually having two parents in the household.
Yes.
Right? A mother and a father. Now, if somebody dies, that's a different situation. It still ends up being tough because you still have one parent. But two people in the household, a mom and a dad,
where's that
that's
kid
a silver bullet.
the majority of the time of the day?
Right.
They're with their family.
Well, it doesn't matter. Exactly, right? So the problem that teachers say you have with education is that it's not about what they learn during the day. It's what their parents reinforce at night. They just come back the next day and have to learn the same stuff over again. And so that does play out, right? We're not trying to solve the actual problems. We're trying to say we can fix it with a Band-Aid and never address the real issue. And if you say it, like you just said, you're racist for pointing that out.
Yeah. No, you're not racist in any way, I think, for stating facts. But
that's what
there
they'll
is
say.
a part of it but there is an issue with black people in the police. It dates back very, very far.
Yeah.
And there is with whites in the police. Like I've said, I've actually been beaten by cops.
You shouldn't
for
have
real.
spit on him and insulted his wife.
Well, in fairness, you're right.
That's where you.
I'm not
that's where you
saying
went
that I
wrong.
didn't deserve it. When I was thrown down the stairs, though.
Yeah, you didn't deserve that.
No, that was too far. But that was one cop who was a dick.
Yeah, but you're right.
I forgot that your growing up story is a walking Lifetime movie.
Yeah.
Yes,
just
it
him
is.
being pushed down a flight of stairs.
Yes, and at the end, I beat up Meredith Baxter Burney.
Yeah,
you're not gonna have this baby.
Yeah, he thought I was a lady. He was, I'm like, I'm pregnant.
But you're 100% right, Dave. Right, there has been a problem in the policing in some urban areas that are statistically highly black areas that white cops have done horrific things. That is absolutely true. Right, you have to deal with that. But the only way to deal with that is to deal with reality. Right now, we have thrown kind of this fake outrage and this straw man that we've built that everybody's attacking that won't solve the problem.
And we have a higher percentage of minorities and black people in the police force than the general population. So,
of course,
but they're all Uncle Tom.
The tide is turning for sure.
No, this has been happening for a very long time, for decades.
No, I
that's what I'm
agree.
saying. Like it was turning for a long time. So I think we're pretty much there.
But there is this passed down fear that people have. When you see George Floyd right there, he's afraid of that guy. He may not be afraid of the other three, but he has a legitimate fear of that guy. Now,
he wasn't afraid for the first 20 minutes.
I think he was. I think anybody being stopped by police is going to be afraid.
Well, okay. But that's the point. It's like, what do you listen? You're
That's
driving.
everybody.
You're high. You're not complying with the police. The police officer saying, "I'm not going to shoot you. I'm not. No, look, I'll put you in the car. I'll leave the air on. The guy's high as a kite. Maybe you should. I think you should be concerned if he's breaking the law and he has a rap sheet a mile
You should
long.
be. Yeah.
Well,
Oh no, and I'm not saying you're wrong about that.
If you're concerned, here's what you do. You turn the car off, you take the keys out of the ignition, you put your hands on the steering wheel, and you ask the officer, what can I do? Just you comply. Those are the things. Now I get if you're scared.
I do that when I'm asking a police officer for directions. I walk up, I go, "Hey, excuse me, officer. Ha ha ha! Hands here. Hey, do you know how to get to the nearest Dunkin' Donuts? Because I won't get those commies at Starbucks the time of day."
I say I'm reaching for my phone. I'm reaching for my phone.
Yeah.
I'm reaching because my insurance is on there now.
And I say, the thing about my phone is it's shaped like a gun. Blam, blam, blam. And then they let me go.
And you say blam?
Yeah, then they realize it's just you joking, and they're like, crowded.
Well, they mainly realize it's me white.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's that white privilege card.
That's what it is.
But yeah, once I roll down the tin of windows, they're like, "You can go."
Oh, we thought you were somebody else.
Here. They give me 6 cookies on my way. That's the part is there's always been an issue with some police officers in power.
Yeah, of course.
That is just a fact, and I think that's something that does have to be acknowledged in this situation. And he looks like a guy, and because of his rap sheet as well, that would abuse his power. In my opinion.
I didn't see that in this tape. I see it at the very end where he didn't roll him over.
Yeah, and I wonder how much the audience played into that, right? He's
Well,
getting
of
heckled
course.
from the street side. Now, I understand.
At that point, you have to take into
Not
consideration if you
justified,
put
but
a guy in recovery position, right, that also means that he can get out. He can move, and he's surrounded by people now who are yelling and recording, and that can become a very dangerous situation.
Well, his attention's now distracted.
Right.
He's not just thinking about the person that he's holding down. He's thinking about a group of people that are starting to get a little bit more tense and a little bit. Now, they had understandable reason to say, "Hey, he's not moving. Get off of him."
I think to Dave's point, both were afraid of each other. Because how big is George? Is he 6'7"?
Big dude.
6'6",
Big man.
6'6", huge, known violent offender. I mean, look, I don't want to say sociopathic, but someone who robs a woman, cases the joint with his buddies, jams a pistol into her stomach when her toddler is in the room, and continues living a life of crime. That's the kind of person who you have to take seriously, and the officers knew that when they pulled up on him. Yeah. And then I think he's probably afraid of Chauvin because they knew each other, and he knew that he was a police officer. And in some cases, I've read about it. I haven't seen extensive proof that Chauvin has been this monster that they make him out to be as far as abusing his power, and I just don't see it in this tape. I really don't. I see it as an unfortunate situation that happened, and again, it certainly isn't justification for the statistics, but that for a lie regarding the statistics of crime between officers and black Americans, and we're not having an honest dialogue. But I do think something that has helped us, a silver lining, some progress, and we make baby steps along the way, is of course in Minneapolis, the wonderful George Floyd autonomous zone where multiple bodies have been found, people have been killed because police are not allowed in. So baby steps. See, they have to walk around the autonomous zone, and there was a young black person who was shot in there and then died because they had to carry the body out.
I don't think you should just get to have an autonomous zone. I'm going to throw it out there. It makes no sense that you can just take over blocks of a city.
I remember when I first heard about it, someone had to explain. I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean autonomous zone? Like, they just took it over and they're not letting anyone in. I'm like, well, you can do
what?
You can do that? Well, depending on that. Melanin.
Yeah, downtown Seattle's just Petertopia from Family Guy. You're like, what happened? You're like, you're not allowed to just have this.
They're like, yeah, we are. And the cop's like, oh, I'm sorry.
They're like, listen, there's a rapper here with a $40,000 grant from the government. He's our king. I mean, that's real.
Yeah. And what did it take? A couple of weeks for that thing to fall apart?
Well, yeah.
Not before our interns were chased off with guns.
Rightfully so.
And Quarter Black Garrett and even Brendan.
Well, I just like when the guy's car's stolen and he's like, somebody called the police. It's like, you really don't get this, do you?
Yeah. Autonomous zone.
I think there's something with the sequence of events and disconnect here, Raz.
This is the extremes, though. That's the problem, is we're looking at the extremes, and the extremes are controlling the narrative.
I don't think we're looking at extremes. I think we're looking at one side, which is stream that's controlling the narrative right now. I mean, the police,
That's true,
police
yeah.
being defunded, right? The left is not saying, "Hey, we need to, I guess, weaken the police union so that bad police officers can be hired," because they can't do that.
Right.
They're saying, "Hey, defund the police," and that actually means defund the police.
Yes.
Or remove qualified immunity. No chokeholds, which I vehemently disagree with. I guess just hit someone mercilessly with a baton or use a taser. That doesn't work on someone with PCP. If you are if someone is committing a serious violent crime, let's say you are down on your luck, you're hungry, you're stealing, you commit armed robbery, and you know that you deserve to go to prison, you would pray that you get choked unconscious and wake up in the paddy wagon. That's the most gentle way to go as someone who's been choked out. Many times, I still wear a leather helmet when I'm not doing the show.
I wear a full mask.
Yes.
And get choked out.
We all do.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I think actually, so the George Floyd, we went down to Chaz. You guys know that in Seattle.
Yeah.
We sent our team. We broadcast live from there for a
Yes.
while. We weren't able to do a whole show from there, but do we have him? So actually, live on location, our on-the-ground correspondent at the Minneapolis Autonomous Zone is Thomas Finnegan. Okay, Mr. Finnegan, I know things are heating up there with the trial underway. Can you hear me? Tell us what's going on the ground.
Good morning, Stephen.
Yep.
I'm in Minneapolis at George Floyd Square, the new autonomous zone.
We know that, yeah. Yeah, what's going on?
Let's see. There's some gentlemen over there. I'll go ask them some questions.
Well, I don't think that's not, we don't have the insurance writer. Thomas, no,
What's this white motherfucker doing?
No camera.
yeah, I don't. Well, we'll check
Man.
back in with him later.
Brave, if
Mr.
not
Finnegan.
stupid.
He's a tough reporter.
Seems we should
I
see this
respect him.
coming.
Yeah.
They're going right now. They're doing the opening statement.
He's still addressing the jurors, it looks like.
All right, let's see Mr. Turtle Shell Mask addressing the jurors. Again, the hashtag is Crowder Chauvin stream because I'm not on the Twitter. And you can just send all
You
your
guys
tweets
gotta do
to
it.
at Dave Landau.
Oh, now he's like
Landau Dave.
Yes, please.
We can't hear what he's saying right now, but I imagine he's saying your lives are over if you don't convict this fellow.
Yes.
Yeah. Is Nancy Pelosi in the back there?
Opening
Here we go.
statement.
How is that going? Like, do people understand
Coach.
what airborne particles are?
No.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, good morning. My name is Jerry Blackwell, and I apologize for talking to you through this plexiglass,
Hilarious.
but it's probably the least of the gifts that the pandemic has given us. You're going to learn in this case
I bet you
a
he's
lot
vaccination
about what it means to
apprehensive.
be a public servant and to have the honor of wearing this badge. It's a small badge that carries with it a large responsibility and a large accountability to the public. What does it stand for? It represents the very motto of the Minneapolis Police Department. To protect with courage, to serve with compassion, but it also represents the essence of the Minneapolis Police Department approach to the use of force against its citizens when appropriate. A sanctity of life and the protection of the public shall be the cornerstones of the Minneapolis Police
Sanctity of life.
Department's
Maybe he's a
use
conservative.
of force. Compassion,
I
sanctity
jest.
of life, cornerstones, and that little badge is worn right over the officer's heart.
He's already a better lawyer, I'm sorry.
But you're also going to learn that the officers take an oath when they become police officers. They take an oath that I will enforce the law courteously and appropriately, and as you will learn, as applies to this case, never employing unnecessary force or violence. And not only that, I recognize the badge of my office
Hey,
as a
quarterback, you
symbol
can
of
put it up full screen every now and then on me and bottom
and
if
I
you need.
accept it as a
'Cause
public
I don't think we'll get
trust
copyright for this.
to be held so long as I am true to the ethics of police service. Symbol of public faith, ethics to police service, sanctity of life, all of this matters tremendously to this case because you will learn that on May 25th of 2020, Mr. Derek Chauvin betrayed this badge when he used excessive and unreasonable force upon the body of Mr. George Floyd. that he put his knees upon his neck and his back,
which is in the training
grinding
manual,
and crushing him until the very breath, no, ladies and gentlemen, until the very life were squeezed out of him.
No, that's not true. We can bring this up. There wasn't squeezed out of him. Look, we have the coroner's report. It wasn't asphyxiation. That's not what happened. He died because of there was an overdose of drugs in his system. Yeah. He had COVID. He had difficulty breathing. There is no evidence, none whatsoever, that it came from the knee on the neck. Now, that's not pleasant. I'm sure it doesn't help, but that would not cause asphyxiation. That wouldn't choke somebody, and it wouldn't cause diaphragmatic asphyxiation. This is also something that I know pretty well.
Right.
There was a guy who used to be called Kavaka in jiu-jitsu, where he would do a move that would compress your diaphragm and you couldn't breathe. Okay? Ugh. That is something that can be done. That would be done from a knee on the belly or in the solar plexus. The coroner's report shows that that is not what happened. Okay? So we need to be clear about that. Did he die from the knee on the neck? No.
But do you think it could be argued because he was on drugs that he could have been riled up by that situation?
He could have been, but considering that this is a technique that's been used by the department for years and it hasn't happened with anyone else, we would have to say, okay, what's the outlier here? It's the copious amounts of drugs that we know cause fatal overdoses.
Right, and go ahead, yeah, and we need to go back.
Yeah, sorry, but hold that thought.
We are bringing this case, this prosecution against Mr. Chauvin, for the excessive force that he applied onto the body of Mr. George Floyd, for engaging in behavior that was imminently dangerous in the force that he applied without regard for its impact on the life of Mr. George Floyd. So let's begin by focusing then on what we will
disagree
learn
with
about
that. Without regard. Tried to get him in the car, told him he wouldn't shoot him, offered to get him in the car with cooled seats, air conditioning, windows open, and a sunroof, and George Floyd requested that he be put on the ground, at which point he used a police protocol to ensure that the man could not leave. Now, I don't think it's a good protocol.
Right.
But the idea with total disregard, would you say, hey, get in the car, I'll turn on the... That's not total disregard.
No.
Hey, man, come on, please, get in the car. That's not total disregard. You can watch the full tape. If George Floyd had died at home, which is very possible, it would have been ruled an overdose because of the obscene amounts of fentanyl, methamphetamine in his system combined with a heart condition and COVID. I don't believe it was total disregard for the first 19 minutes.
I just think it's weird that Mr. Chauvin is there with a notepad drawing penises.
That was
inappropriate. It's just a weird time, right?
Yeah.
Poor taste.
Any other time.
When you got to draw one, you got to draw one.
He says, I'll probably die this way. I'm through. They're going to kill me. They're going to kill me, man.
Now, hold on a second. Does he say, I can't breathe 27 times on the ground? Or are they including the I can't breathe? Keep in mind, we have the tape where George Floyd is in the car getting out and they put cuffs on him before they carry him to the cop car. I can't breathe, man. I can't breathe. Are they including that with the 27 times?
Yeah, or trying to get him into the back.
I can't breathe needs to be tossed out as entirely irrelevant because he said it immediately. And by the way, it's very common for people to do that with police officers because they believe it's a get out of arrest free card.
Yeah, it is.
Chauvin was Floyd was saying it. Does 27 times include that? Can we find that? Can we fact check that? Because we counted dozens of times.
Yeah.
You will hear his words further apart. You will see that his respiration gets shallower and shallower and finally stops when he speaks his last words, I can't breathe. And once we have his final words, you'll see that for roughly 53 seconds, he is completely silent and virtually motionless with just sporadic movements. You're going to learn those sporadic movements matter greatly in this case because what they reflect. Mr. Floyd was no longer breathing when he's making these movements. You will learn about something in this case called an anoxic seizure. It is the body's automatic reflex when breathing has stopped due to oxygen deprivation. We'll be able to point out to you when you'll see the involuntary movements from Mr. Floyd that are part of an anoxic seizure. Not only that, you're going to learn about something that's called agonal breathing. When the heart is stopped, when blood is no longer coursing through the veins, you will hear the body gasp as an involuntary reflex. We'll point out
all
to
of this, by the way, is designed to try and connect the dots that he was asphyxiated by the cop. No, he wasn't. The report shows that he wasn't. Blood stopped coursing through his veins because of Chauvin. That's not what happened. He panicked. Sure, you can say the guy was Chauvin had his knee on him for too long. Sure, but the idea that he died because of Chauvin, no. And you know what we can do? I'll have you put your knee on my neck here in this studio right afterwards.
Okay.
Again?
Is it uncomfortable? It is uncomfortable, but the reason they teach it to police officers is because it wouldn't asphyxiate someone. This is a guy who was on fentanyl, who was on meth. This is a guy who was very heavy, had a pre-existing heart condition, and had COVID. Anywhere else in the media right now, Fauci would be touting it as a COVID death. Let's be clear about that. They're trying to connect the dots so you think that all of these... Right now, all of these issues, all of these the issues of twitching, the issue of blood flow stopping, that is directly attributable to the knee on the neck. Just like they want you to think that 27 times I can't breathe is directly attributable to Chauvin's action. It's not. It's not, because he was saying it when he was in his car, when he was out of both cars, and when they were trying to get him in the cop car. So we need to be clear here. Don't connect dots where they don't connect.
I do think, and again, it's just my opinion, but Chauvin is guilty there. But at the same time, how comfortable are we supposed to make criminals? This is what I don't understand. You're committing a crime, the result is a punishment. Getting arrested is a punishment.
Right.
It is part, I mean, I guess it's not the punishment yet.
It's not the punishment. The whole point is the point is not punishment, it's to remove you as a threat from society.
Right.
And at that point, he refused to get in the car. They couldn't remove him.
Yeah. But how comfortable are you supposed to make somebody during that? It just doesn't make any sense to me. Like, if you're doing everything that you can, how much farther do you have to take it? I don't know.
Well, if you look at the new laws they're proposing, it's you can't subdue them at all, and you have to let them go.
Well, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Oh, well, then you should just do whatever I
Only
want.
if they have COVID, you have to let them go.
Just like Georgia, they want you to be able to fight two officers, tase them in the face, and still go. All right,
and you're right. Anything could have happened. It would have been called a COVID death.
Right.
Move the lifeless body of George Floyd onto the gurney. Only then does Mr. Chauvin let up and get up, and you'll see him drag Mr. Floyd's body and unceremoniously cast it onto the gurney.
How is he going to pick up a guy 260, 270 pounds?
There wasn't a nearby florist.
Dead carcass of his enemy onto this. That's not
like
what
roadkill with a stick. Like me with the snapping turtle, where I told you that story where there was a snapping turtle in the road. I'll tell you this really quickly. There was a snapping turtle in the road. This has happened to me twice, and I don't want to kill it, but the thing would get up, turn around, and snapped my stick in half.
Yeah.
And I knew off the road there's a little pond, a little river. So there was a construction area where there was like 2x4s kind of stakes. So what I finally did was I got the snapping turtle because it kept turning around trying to get aggressive with me. So I turned my back to the pond. I scooped it, and like Highland Games, I scooped it and whipped it back into the pond. Probably went about 50 feet in the air. I heard it plunge.
And it landed on a judge's face.
He made it.
No.
You said this has happened twice?
Twice.
You've done this twice with snapping turtle? Where are you going with
where
so many snapping
I'll show you. It's not far.
Hanging out
They're
with
all
snapping
around. They're
turtles.
all around
Are you
here.
going to drive me into the woods and you're like, yeah, we're just going to go see snapping turtles?
Hey, what's with the shallow grave?
This is
you don't
weird.
need a deep one, Dave.
No, Dave, you have to dig 6 feet to find them turtles.
Just look down there. There's a snapping turtle down there.
In the grave? Yeah.
Yeah.
Why do you keep calling it a grave?
I put some lavender in there. Take a sniff.
Do you like lavender? Oh, that's nice, lavender.
Consistent with current Minneapolis Police Department training.
But it is.
What did he say?
What
Said
you
it
learn,
has to be
ladies and
consistent with
gentlemen,
training.
It is consistent with training.
It is.
That is consistent.
must be evaluated from
I
one
have a
moment
problem with the training. You guys should
Right.
have a problem with the training.
I do.
But your problem is with the training. Let's be clear. Chauvin didn't go rogue by putting his knee on his neck. He was taught that. And police officers get mad at me. Most of our police officers, when it comes to physical altercations outside of the use of weapons, are incompetent. Are completely incompetent, and that needs to be fixed. It's also why we shouldn't have weak female officers out in the field. What do you think a weak female officer is going to do when you get nailed in the head with a snare drum by Antifa, and you're 5'2", and you have to do a plank because you can't do the knee tuck for the PT requirement? I want big, strong, capable men who don't have to use their weapons.
Or a sturdy girl.
Yeah.
A buxom woman.
Yes.
Thick
I want
girl.
GSP. George St. Pierre is the perfect police officer.
Well, he's a welterweight.
Yeah, but he's fine. Doesn't matter.
I want Sly Stallone's ex that hooks up with Flavor Flav.
I want Frank Stallone.
Oh,
I want
yeah.
him to go, take it back. Do, take it back.
No.
And everybody just
We should
busted
listen to
the
this
song.
statement because it's a, landmark case and what have you.
who was handcuffed, who was not resisting, that there's no cause to use that force in the first place. You're going to hear
Not
Minneapolis
unless
Police Sergeant
he requests
David
to be put on the
who's gonna
ground,
talk with you.
which he did. Again, we showed you guys the video for people. You can rewind it and come back here live while you're watching right now. He requested to be put on the ground because he didn't want to be in an open-windowed, air-conditioned car.
The other lawyers should be all in white, and then there should be ceiling fans on, and he should speak with a southern accent while wiping himself with a handkerchief.
There's something wrong with this man's medulla oblongata.
This here is a trial.
Mr. Floyd. You're also going to learn about another very important policy in the Minneapolis Police Department. That's a core
Oh, you know what? Here, let's play this really quickly. Yeah, just because they said Floyd said I can't breathe 27 times, I've got to believe that includes the many, many times where he tried to use it to get out of being arrested for a crime. I've got to imagine, because we have a clip of him saying I can't breathe long before he was even restrained. Here you go.
Take a seat. Please, man. Please. No, take a seat. I can't choke. I can't breathe.
I can't
choke.
In fairness, he did initially say I can't choke. He was looking for private judo lessons.
But by the way, do you think he would have calmed down in the backseat of that car? If that's your argument, that if you could have just calmed him down, it would have been fine by putting. He would have flipped out.
You ever tried to calm someone down on fentanyl and methamphetamine?
No, and they can't breathe.
It proves surprisingly difficult.
Fentanyl.
They're positively surly.
ISIS intervention coordinator in your custody is in your care. You're going to learn that when Mr. Floyd was unconscious, that when he was breathless, when he did not have a pulse, that there was a duty to have administered care, to let up and get up.
Duty.
That's exactly what I'm.
I knew
you listen to Minneapolis Police Commander Katie Blackwell. No relation to my knowledge. But you will hear from Katie Blackwell, and she's going to tell you about the training that Mr. Chauvin received. You're going to hear that he was a veteran on the Minneapolis Police Department for 19 years, had been trained in CPR multiple times at the time. And you'll be able to see for yourself.
Okay, really quickly, the reason he didn't perform CPR was also because of another lie. Well, let's have the control room, the edit bay, bring this up. They called the paramedics.
Yeah.
They did. They called the paramedics, so the paramedics performed the CPR.
Yeah. One of the officers did as well.
Right, that's what I'm saying. One of the officers performed CPR as well. Yeah, and then they waited for the paramedics. So they called the paramedics. That was a lie too, right? Why was this man there when no medical assistance was called? It was. Why was no medical assistance provided? It was. So what they are trying to make you think right now is no medical assistance was called. It was. And no one helped. No, Chauvin didn't perform the CPR because another officer did. What if the other officer is better? What if he just recently had his refresher course? Well, it doesn't matter if Chauvin did it. It matters if he was provided the proper medical attention, which he was. But the media lied about that too.
But it also matters when they knew that he needed it. Did they think he was just passed out because he was on drugs and they were finally able to control him, or did they know? And they may, if they knew early and didn't provide it, then that's where this case comes in.
Right.
But they're assuming that right now.
Well, he just said Chauvin didn't provide CPR.
Right, yeah.
I'm putting my lips on another man's lips.
I ain't that kind of guy, man.
I'm just going to do that. Give him CPR. That's gay.
He was the police chief at the time. He's the chief today. He is going to tell you that Mr. Chauvin's conduct was not consistent with Minneapolis Police Department training.
It was.
Was not.
But is that the same guy
consistent
who
with
lied about it
Minneapolis Police
earlier?
Department policy. Was not.
You know, if
reflective of
Mahoney
the
wasn't
Minneapolis
joking
Police
around all the time, the police would take their jobs a lot more serious.
He's very clear. He'd be very decisive that this was excessive force. So ultimately, ladies and gentlemen, what was this all about in the first place?
Here we go.
Here it is.
Well, you're going to learn that it was about a counterfeit $20 bill used at a convenience store. That's all. You will not hear any evidence that Mr. Floyd knew that it was fake or did it on purpose. You will learn from witnesses we will call that the police officers could have written him a ticket and let the court sort it out.
Nope, they couldn't have. Again, go to the clip. They couldn't have because he wasn't complying the moment they pulled him over. Started screaming, "Don't shoot me! My mom's dead!" And they said, "Well, reaching erratically in the car." I said, "Keep your hands where I can see him," and he didn't, and that escalated it. Look, maybe this time it wasn't a violent crime like George Floyd had committed many, many times in the past. Not saying he deserves to die. Not saying that at all. But let's be honest, many, many violent crimes in the past, a rap sheet. Maybe that's not what happened. Maybe they could have given a ticket for a counterfeit 20, assuming that he didn't even know and he wasn't high on drugs. But that is irrelevant because then the time frame changes from erratic non-compliance for 10 minutes with the officers. It's no longer about the counterfeit 20. They didn't put him on the ground because of a counterfeit 20. They put him on the ground because he yelled and he screamed and he was non-compliant for 10 minutes and he requested to be put on the ground. Has nothing to do at that point with the counterfeit 20. If you're pulled over for going 10 over the speeding limit and the officer says, "Let me see your ID," and you start screaming about you're not that kind of guy and you don't give him your ID and you're reaching for something other than your ID and the officers say, "Get out of the car," and then you say that you can't breathe, you're not that kind of guy, and they say, "We're going to need to get you into the car while we check your plate," and you refuse to and you request to be put on the ground, it's no longer about your speeding ticket.
For 9 minutes and 29 seconds.
Was the 20 counterfeit for sure? Because I know it was a suspicion of a counterfeit 20.
We're going to prove it, ladies and gentlemen.
I don't know that we know that. It doesn't really matter.
No, it doesn't. But I'm curious.
Yeah.
I don't think he knew. I mean, if I'm being honest, I think he's just a guy in drugs who probably runs around with people.
I think he was an upstanding citizen who would be positively offended to see that someone had counterfeit a bill.
Yeah. That's what I was saying.
Officers learn around first aid, coming to the care of others.
Sucks.
We'll bring in a number of police
officers.
It does. And at so many levels.
It sucks on so many levels, but what really sucks is that black people are going to be more vulnerable because of these riots and the defunding of police based on a false narrative. And you're seeing them try to reconstruct it at every turn. He said he couldn't breathe. He said he couldn't breathe long before he requested being put in his stomach. This is just what we've seen so far. He didn't know it was a counterfeit 20. It has nothing to do with the counterfeit 20. It has to do with over 10 minutes of non-compliance. He was asphyxiated. Nope. The coroner report shows that he was not asphyxiated. There was no damage to the spinal cord. These things aren't true. It wasn't a part of police training. It absolutely was a part of police training. Now, it doesn't mean that there's no accountability or culpability, but you have to then sentence based on the evidence, not based on signs between Walgreen burnings.
Yeah, exactly. You guys remember this happened to a white guy in Dallas too, right?
Yes.
Virtually the exact same scenario.
Yes, it happens all the time.
Who died of fentanyl?
No, who died after saying he couldn't breathe and cops were subduing him and had him on the ground. Same kind of situation. But did you see the riots and burning of Walgreens then?
No,
it didn't happen.
No, I stole
a systemic problem. Then it was just it was an accident.
Apparently there are a few extra 5-finger discounts at Lane Bryant, so the rage rears its head in one form.
Well, don't you need 10 fingers for that stuff?
I think this guy. I can't remember the name.
Big gal. That's for a big female officer. You know what I'm saying? Buxom.
Jeez.
If you want to see it, we have that body cam footage, and it's not Chauvin, but it's the rookie cop who's doing CPR.
Oh, okay. Let's show this. So this is the rookie cop who was doing CPR before the paramedics got there, who were called.
Or it's inside the.
It's inside there.
The paramedic.
Okay, good. Yeah. Well, let's show it
in the ambulance.
Oh, so the cops were giving him CPR.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a bit late.
You want me doing just impressions?
They got him in right and started doing it right away.
Yeah, that's true. I just don't like looking at it.
No, I know. No one all right, that's enough there, Okinawan. He's Okinawan, so
I think the whole situation just sucks, and this is what happens when a bunch of people, maybe who don't necessarily know what they're doing, one's on drugs, poor training, whatever, everything just... I don't think that a cop would willingly, with all those cameras on him, necessarily do this, but I do think he is responsible for it. It's just how I feel.
Well, but is it...
But what is he responsible for specifically?
I don't think he's responsible for murder. I think he's responsible for manslaughter, though.
That's a pretty high bar, though. I mean, you're talking about putting somebody away for what, 20...
You've never seen me luau.
15 to 20 years? I don't know what the manslaughter deal is.
Wait, that's a low bar.
I don't either.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was a high bar.
That's what they do
probably
for
why
you.
I'm
It's
so
like
good at limbo.
When you do basketball,
really far up there.
You and Cuomo, they lower the rim. When you limbo, they raise the bar.
Just so you know, I can dunk on a 5-foot rim.
Very good for you. And
Adelaide over
Flobo
here.
can dunk on a 4-foot rim, especially if he can face palm a toddler out of the way while he does it.
I'm 5'6". I could not dunk on a 5'7" rim. I'm not kidding. There's no way.
All right, let's go back to the
So I'm
statement.
going to show you in a moment one of the videos that you're going to see in this trial, just to kind of tee up for you what will be the essence of what we will be focused on in the trial. I need to tell you ahead of time.
Show the full video.
That the video is graphic, that it can be difficult.
So to be
to
clear,
watch.
second-degree manslaughter, the definition is by the person's culpable negligence whereby the person creates an unreasonable risk and consciously takes chances of causing death or great bodily harm to another. So Chauvin would have to have displayed culpable negligence, and he was, considering that he was following the police department protocol, it's pretty tough. Again, going by the law. You know, it would mean that he had to consciously create a scenario where he knew that he could kill somebody.
Well, we've created a scenario where the sins of everything in the past are now riding on this trial, and the potential of extreme violence, which is not what our system of law is based on. It's based on evidence.
Well, our system of law is based on systemic racism and patriarchy. So
Of course.
Yeah. That.
Yeah.
Some of the judges are cocks.
You don't learn that at your luau's.
Yeah, I do. We get a pig, we put an apple in its mouth, and by pig I mean cop.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Have you seen the little piggies in the starched white shirts?
To be able to pick up candy and snacks when they came up.
Always have clean
what was
shirts
happening,
to play around in. John Lennon, you're responsible for countless dead cops.
He really is.
He was shot by a patriot.
He was.
Steve Hansen, the first responder who tried to intervene.
I joke.
He was really the one that broke up the Beatles, though.
He was.
Everybody blames Yoko.
Listen, what do you expect from a self-avowed communist who has 4 Rolls Royces in the Upper West Side?
He's really an idiot.
He's a man of the people.
He also abused his son.
Who walks around that neighborhood also in the 70s? You go for a stroll, you're going to get shot.
So any number of these
anything about it.
coming in to talk with you.
Nobody got Ringo.
And so they come from the broad spectrum of humanity.
Tragedy.
Different races.
I'll put my knee
different
on Ringo's
genders.
neck.
You have older people, younger people.
Just for his
But you
all-star
will see
band.
that
It's not
they
showing what
all
it feels
had in
like to
common
be under the sea.
is they were
Oh,
going
see
about
the
their
pun.
I'll see.
is that they saw something that was shocking to them, that was disturbing to them, and it made them stop and take note. Stop and take note. They tried to first.
It does seem long. I'm sorry. That just seems brutally long to
happening with their voices.
put a knee on a man's neck.
They tried to interject, to exhort.
It's
to
here's the
please
thing.
Stop, to try to get
If it's taught as a control position, that's not long at all. It's not taught as an asphyxiation. So so in other words, if you choke someone for a minute, they're dead. However, anyone who's ever been in, let's take jiu-jitsu matches, because this is where positions like this occur all the time.
Now
Neon
you're
belly is
speaking
comparable.
my language.
It's 10 minutes, a 10-minute match. And it's very common for someone to be in a control position, far more uncomfortable than that, for 10 minutes and into overtime. So a control position held for 10 minutes is not long at all. As a matter of fact, you're supposed to be able to hold it indefinitely. So if it was taught to the police department as a subdue and control position, that's not long. If it was taught as an asphyxiation, which it was not, that's long. People need to understand that. Now, I don't think that it's a good control position. I think it's stupid to be taught to police officers, and I think that pamphlet was probably written by some guy who gave himself a black belt in some bullshit martial art that doesn't exist, and he gave him a position where, frankly, George Floyd could have tipped him off, literally tipped him off of him at any point in time. However, it was taught as a control position. And that's why it matters, sort of like when, and I'm not saying this as an insult, but as someone who has had to deal with control positions, right?
Yeah.
Half of what we learn in jiu-jitsu and wrestling is how to establish control, how to escape control. 10 minutes is not long. 10 minutes is the minimal expectation of what you are supposed to be able to hold until backup shows up. That's different between a submission or an incapacitating move. For example, tasing someone, hitting them with a nightstick, choking them. That's not what was taught, and this is the problem when you have a group of people watching it who go, well, that looks bad. Look, there are certain things that look bad that are not painful at all. For example, being choked unconscious. That's why we choked Audio Wade here on the show, so that people know what it's like. If they taught police officers this is how you control someone, which is what they did, that's a problem with the training. Okay, they're showing a video.
Well, the guy who wrote the bill, I believe his name is Ray, and he did have a black belt in Ray Jitsu.
Good for Raekwon Jitsu Kaido.
I'm in Briarty. My name's Brian.
Please, somebody.
If this is all you see.
But by the way, they're not choking him there either. That's important to note. They're not choking him there.
Right.
That is not expelling the air from him.
No.
It does. Is it bad training? Yes, but that is not a choke.
But if that's all you see, you assume that that's because of. He's saying he can't breathe because of that. If you don't see that he was saying it before, if you don't see that he was saying it when he was getting put in the police car, he was like a cat over water.
Let's bring back up the clip for people who haven't. Bring back up the clip of him saying I can't breathe. Well before that happened. Bring that up. Show that clip again.
Take a seat. Please, man. Please. No, take a seat. I can't choke. I can't breathe.
Again, that is not commensurate with the level of force being used. He was acting erratically and irrationally, so it's the boy who cried wolf. At a certain point, when you've been saying I can't breathe, by their own account, 27 times, now people go, hold on a second, he's also been violent in the past. Is this an excuse to try and get a jump on us? Which happens all the time.
And if their weight is distributed properly, and this is why I say, Dave, this matters. If your weight is not on their diaphragm, you're not restricting their breathing. These police officers likely had to have...
Look at that. He just moved his head. He just lifted his head and moved his head, rotated it. Did you see that?
Now, it doesn't mean something didn't happen that was wrong. So I'm not saying that. I'm saying that he didn't choke him out by doing this. He didn't suffocate him by doing this.
Right.
No,
So
I'm just asking...
Delineate that, because what they're doing right now is they're showing the jury this and saying, look,
he's able to move his head. This is the issue here, too. Is someone, again, people out there who are college wrestlers, high school wrestlers, people who do jiu-jitsu, judo, come on, comment, send me your chats at MugClub, loudwithcarter.com/MugClub. You know that when someone has a lock on you, when someone gets you in a side control position, when someone gets you in a cradle, you cannot move your head and lift it around.
Yeah.
You are pinned.
It's intentionally uncomfortable, and they're not trying to do that.
How long y'all gotta hold him down?
Why we don't do drugs, kids? It ain't about drugs.
Hey, by the way, can we also have them pull the clip of where he asked to be put on the ground?
Who said it's why you don't do drugs, kids?
I think it was Chauvin who said it, and that's my theory.
And that bothers me, though.
Of course it does.
It's not taking it seriously.
Well, no, so
it shows neglect, I think.
Well, hold on, Dave. If this position has been done countless times before, they've had it done to themselves in training, they know what it does to you. And so if they're thinking, okay, I'm doing a position I've done countless times, it's been done to me, it's uncomfortable, I can breathe, it's totally fine, it's not going to hurt anybody, then you can take it like that and say, okay, this guy's just being erratic. You have to take all of this context. It doesn't mean he didn't make a mistake by not turning him over. It doesn't mean that he made a mistake here. His mistake is focusing on the crowd and not on George Floyd. And I don't think it's the crowd's fault. They're scared for a guy. It's his fault for saying, guys, y'all shouldn't do drugs.
By the way, there are plenty of
George
instances,
Floyd.
especially in these riots, if the crowd starts filming and then beat the hell out of it.
Oh, of course. Yeah, no, I'm not.
Oh, of course.
This
yeah,
happens all the time.
Well, I mean, it's the same as Mel Gibson's wife filming him and getting him all riled up and then hitting record.
And you will blow me
in the hot tub
because I deserve it.
Like I love how he feels he needs justification.
But I love this. Like he's so. But I will give you one more chance.
One more chance.
She's like, really?
Oh, that's what I wanted. One more
chance. Do you mean it, Father?
You made a promise.
Oh, I do look forward to the jacuzzi for our fallacic aquatic romp.
Yes, I've told everyone. I can't wait.
You've sincerely earned your treatsies.
He did, though, by being Mel Gibson. He's like, you like this house? Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I'm going to pull this out. I'll be in the hot tub. He has a hot tub.
Yeah.
Just that alone. I'll get to know him.
By the way, how scared do you think George Floyd is of Chauvin if he said, don't leave me?
Right.
Well,
I'm sorry, that just doesn't, those two things don't add up to me. You're scared for your life against this one police officer who's apparently going to do something terrible to you, and you're like, don't leave me, man, don't leave me, don't leave me.
Yeah.
You don't say that to somebody you're scared of.
Right.
So all of this matters.
But look at all that blood.
That's pee.
Oh.
And that's terrible, and that's the gut-wrenching part of this.
Yeah.
Is that piss for real?
Look at him.
I believe so, yeah.
Well, that would
looks like
indicate
it.
fear.
Yeah.
You pee yourself if you're on drugs too, right?
Or death.
Well, I mean, you
Could be
can.
death.
Could be death.
I mean, a lot of people do it just by drinking.
Yeah.
I do it when I slow dance.
Let me see a pose.
Is he breathing right
Jesus.
now? Check his pulse.
Sorry, I know there's a lot of Christians.
Okay. Check his pulse, Kyle.
I know there's a lot of
Check his pulse. Tal, check his pulse, bro. Bro, check his pulse, bro. You bogus.
I'm just looking at one human being to another in an isolated situation, and that's
it's horrible.
It's hard for me to not look at him like, even though what he's done in the past obviously is horrible.
But it's not about
this
that.
exact moment is the issue.
Yeah, but it's not exactly. It's not about what he's done in the past.
It's just this moment. I just don't. I think this is too much. It's
But
just
does that mean that Chauvin is guilty of a crime punishable by 15 years in prison? That's the question that we're.
The question that and the honest answer is yes. By looking at the video and my gut feeling, I just feel that way. But if this is how they're trained, yeah, you're right. There's something to look at.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's why you want the legal system to be about the facts and not.
Yeah, and not fear of a nation burning. I get
Right.
that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, otherwise you end up with OJ.
Well, it's not even the nation burning part. It's the jurors. Like, imagine if you're a juror that votes to not convict.
Well, I mean,
Like,
if
it's
the
off.
police was there sprinkling
is
blood
getting
all
out
over the
somehow.
place, like
Yeah.
for OJ,
Right.
That was really the problem. Was the LAPD was super racist and
They were,
evidence
yes.
tampering.
Furman
You had Mark
was a
Furman, who's
bastard,
like,
yeah.
I've never used the N-word on tape 11,000 times.
90s wasn't a great time for LAPD.
This was not a great time for LAPD.
No, not a good. Not
But
a good
OJ
look.
did it.
No.
He definitely.
Oh, he totally did it, but you didn't have to fake it. That's my point.
Right.
You didn't have to go.
You already
We need
had
to
it.
add evidence to the mountain of evidence we have.
It's already here.
Yeah. And so my problem, Dave, with this again, this is heartbreaking. When I watch this, my gut hurts.
Of course.
Yes, it
right?
does.
It's heartbreaking.
How does your heart not break? Yeah.
Yeah. So, but that's the thing. Like, you need to make sure that if you're going to make a judgment call on what happened, you see the whole context.
Of course.
The state showing just this is trying to get you to see this and have your heart break and never be able to think of it any other way. Yeah. And the guys that are coming behind him in the defense and saying, look, but all of this that led up to it matters. All of this that happened matters. It's possible that he would have been so erratic in the back of that car that he could have died on the way to the police station.
we have that
now,
video.
They have to come to that,
of
obviously,
him,
from a medical
of
examiner.
him asking to be put on the ground.
But it is possible that he
Could
had
have
a
survived
panic
as well.
attack and couldn't breathe even then.
But you know what, though? Yeah, but you can't base police protocol on not subduing someone if they have a panic attack.
Oh, I agree.
Because I've had this happen. Actually, my dad will tell you the first time anyone who's ever done jiu-jitsu, I've just gotten into a position. The first time it happens, I've had people tap the very first UFC, the very first. You watch MMA now, right? And you watch it and you see people exchanging positions on the ground. The very first fight that ever happened was Hoist Gracie, 170 pounds, against a boxer named Art Jimerson. He came in with one boxing glove, and you know what happened? Hoist Gracie took Art Jimerson down, and he simply got to a position we know as mount, meaning he got on top of him.
Yeah,
that's all. And you just see the one boxing glove tapping. He had a panic attack and he tapped.
Yeah.
Nowadays, that's just getting started. Someone will escape. There'll be some kind of a sweep, rotating positions because people know what's going on. Anyone who goes into there first will panic. This is a professional boxer who simply found himself on his back and he panicked and tapped. And you can hear the story. He's told the story. He said, "I felt like I couldn't breathe. I felt like a fish out of water. I panicked."
Yeah.
It's supposed to make you feel powerless so that you don't fight and get violent. Let's show the clip really quickly of him asking to be put on the ground because that is relevant. He is only on the ground by request. And keep in mind, the protocol for keeping someone controlled on the ground is very different from a police car with doors that cannot be opened from the inside, that are childproof, right? That's the point. They tried to get him in the car many, many times. He said, "I can't breathe in the car, so put me on the ground." Here is his request.
He's struggling hard right there.
They're trying to push him in the car. And he's saying, "I'm going to get on the ground." And now they're saying, "Okay, let's get him out and get him on the ground."
I'm not going to lose you. Bro, you won't die of a heart attack, I know I can't breathe. Get in the car.
There's some more I can't breathe.
There's some more I can't breathe. You hear the guy say, "Hey, he's getting a heart attack. Get him in the car."
Yeah.
I just COVID, man. I can't breathe. Take a seat.
There is no weight on him right now. None whatsoever. They're trying to lift him up, and he's saying he can't breathe.
Is he saying, "Put me on the ground"?
Yes.
Yeah.
He said it multiple times a second ago.
Earlier, he said, "Put me anywhere on the ground."
Please, man. I can't fucking breathe. Here, come on out.
I couldn't tell if it was but the ground. That's
No, he's saying,
because I've watched the video a few times, but it's hard to understand with all the.
Yeah. No, he's saying, "Put me on the ground."
Yeah.
He's saying that he wants to go on the ground, and he's refusing to get in the car. Well, listen, there's a reason that people put put suspects, put assailants, put criminals in cop cars because it's the
Yeah.
safest place, both for them and for the people to whom they could do damage in the community. Someone on fentanyl and meth, someone who's committed multiple violent crimes in the past, a threat to the community, and so you do treat that person differently.
Yeah. Well, and if it comes down to Chauvin, now I'm almost going to do what you're doing. Made a mistake. Like, if that's the deal, like he didn't roll him over and it was a mistake. It wasn't intentional. Let's just assume, right? Let's just assume that's the case. Would he not also be just as responsible? Because George Floyd you could say, well, if you had just gotten in the car, they had you there, if you had just gotten in the car, the rest of this. Now, it's not like Chauvin took his gun out and shot him. That wouldn't have mattered at that point.
Well,
right?
that's different.
That wouldn't have been you couldn't say to George Floyd, in retrospect, saying, "Hey, if you'd just gotten in the car, right?" But in this case, if that's all that they prove is that he made a mistake by not rolling him over, don't you have to take it and expand it?
But wouldn't Chauvin then be dead and Floyd would be on trial for manslaughter? I mean, if Chauvin was the one that died in this.
No, that's not what I was saying.
No, I think you were saying if Chauvin pulled out his gun and shot him.
It's not like after he refused to get in the car, Chauvin pulled out his gun and shot him. That would be obvious, that Chauvin had committed a crime. But if all we can say is that he was trained poorly with something that should never have been done, and he made a mistake towards the end, not rolling him over.
Let me ask you this, Dave.
Yes.
When you watched all that in the car,
Yes.
and the pullover, do you think that any of that is excessive?
The force in the car?
Well, them getting him out of his car, which, by the way, the irony's not lost on me that he can't get in a car because he's claustrophobic when he was driving in a compact.
Yeah.
It seems that it's a fear of being inside police cars, not it's police claustrophobia, paddy wagon claustrophobia.
Yeah.
But let me ask you this: do you think that it was like that right there in the car was excessive?
No, based on his history, the number of police surrounding him. Now, if it was anybody else not based on his history, I would be a little surprised because that does seem like a lot of people on one just for an initial stop.
But, no, I
think it was 2 people.
It was 2 people, and then there were more
Which
when he
is
didn't
now
get in
the standard,
car.
right? Like one has to be.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
Because I'm asking because you can't get him in the car.
I understand that they can't get him in the car. I understand that they're fighting with him. I think it's excessive on both their parts.
Right.
Or not excessive at all, if you're going to, I guess, to put it that way.
Right.
My thing is when he's on the ground.
Yeah.
And he's got his knee on his neck for 9.5 minutes. That is excessive. The rest of it, I think they're just trying to do their best.
So let me ask you this: you're a police officer, and this is something that. So let's walk through this, and then I want to go back to his statements here.
And I'm just playing.
No, I appreciate it, and don't take this personally because I understand.
So many people
who know.
I'm really
Dave
just
is,
trying
Dave
to
is
figure
hysterical,
out what
and
happened.
Dave is he's very clear about the fact that he's more moderate, and I understand where he's lining up here. I think that he should have been turned over as well. However, let's walk this through. You pull a man over.
Well, I think defunding police and rioting is stupid.
Yes, of course you
That's
do.
a whole nother thing.
You're when people say I'm reasonable moderate, it doesn't exist anymore. There's like you and no one.
Morons.
Okay, pull him over. Guy is erratic. Guy saying his mom is dead. Guy's not putting his hands above his head. Saying don't shoot me. You say I won't shoot you. Okay. Now you try and take him over to the cop car. He's screaming that I can't breathe. Okay. He refuses to get in the cop car. At this point, you have multiple officers come in.
After you've made accommodations.
After you've made accommodations, you've rolled down the window. Yep. He says, I can't breathe, I'm going to have a heart attack. I won't get in the cop car, okay? You can, and at this point, keep in mind, the officers are not able to control him. That's all the officers trying to get him into the car, kicking them off, pushing. He's bigger and strong. They have no ability to control him. He refuses, says, I will not get in the car. Okay, so now he says, put me on the ground. You have no choice because you can't deal with this guy's strength to get him in the cop car. You saw that. Okay, now you've gotten a man who's resisted arrest, who has a history of violent criminal behavior, who seems to be on drugs and erratic, on the ground outside of a cop car, and you need to wait until backup comes up. What do you need to do? You need to control him on the ground. How have you been taught to do it? So what else does someone do? The point is, it's excessive, sure. How long did it take for backup to arrive? How long did it take for the paramedics to arrive? That's how long you have to control someone on the ground. My point is, it's a horrible control technique. The liability should be with the police department teaching that right now.
Yeah.
And that's not racial profiling, it's bad physical training. But this man is on the ground, you haven't been able to control him with handcuffs, in the car, multiple officers, you now have a waiting period. How do you control him? They use the only tools that were available to them to control him.
Well, and defunding the police and EMTs in a lot of those neighborhoods especially that's a really hard job too, being an EMT and having to get there in all those different places in time. Yeah, it does matter how long it took them to get there. And in those neighborhoods We all know people have bled out because they can't get their services in time to even help anyone.
Right. Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that, can come into play of why that's a tragedy.
I just don't know how anything. I don't know how differently it could have played out short of the training.
But do you think that's the
department
only training for that situation? I guess is my question.
It's what they're trained to do to control someone on the ground cuffed.
That's strange to me, though. Like,
It's strange. It's strange to me that they were teaching police officers with taekwondo for hand-to-hand combat for 30 years when they had a 50-pound utility belt. They don't have very good hand-to-hand training at all.
Right.
Yeah. We've had cops come into our schools regularly, even when I was Phil, and they have no idea how to deal with someone physically. They're good with guns. They're good with sticks. They're good with tasers. We need reform of police training first. Yeah. Police training needs to be better first, and that requires funding. Sorry, let's go and listen to...
it requires take away the money.
Yes, first. Then
you will hear, and are well aware when there was a loss of pulse. You'll hear from a number of experts on the stand that putting a man in the prone position with handcuffs behind his back, somebody on his neck and back pressing down on him for 9 minutes and 29 seconds is enough to take a life. You'll hear that also.
But that's not what took his life.
No.
You're also going to hear from other experts who will point to
autopsy, no evidence of strangulation or asphyxiation, lethal amounts of drugs. So could it, figuratively? Maybe. But we know what took his life. It wasn't asphyxiation.
Ladies and gentlemen, the road rash on the shoulders from where he's been pressed into the pavement from the weight on top that stripped off layers of the skin. The same
actually, you don't get road rash from being pressed. You get road rash from moving and scraping.
To resist, to his nose when he pressed his face into the pavement to try to get room to breathe, ladies and gentlemen.
No, his head was turned to
right
the side.
now. If you put me on a road naked and you lay Gerald, Dave, Quarter Black Garrett, Tokunawan, Toolman, everyone here on top of me, I will not have road rash.
Like weird.
Yeah.
It's not possible.
It'll just press into you.
Road rash.
I'll give you a
it
rash.
requires movement, friction, which requires what? Some space to move.
Yeah. What he just said, I think, was a lie, though. He just said you'll see nose imprints where he pushed his face into the ground so that he could create room to breathe. And I was like, actually, we have video of his head being to the side.
His head being to the side, and his head then coming up off the ground and moving the other side.
Yeah.
I don't know about a lawyer line, bud.
And this is important, too. And the cops say this, if you can talk, you can breathe.
Yeah.
Well, that's
and
true,
they're telling
but
him to calm down. They're telling him, like, hey, calm down, calm down, calm down.
That's like when you're wrestling with your brother, though, or your rock hard uncle, and you're like, I can't breathe because you don't know the words to explain that I'm losing air.
To get to recovery
I'm going to get in trouble for that.
Yeah.
To see his face.
To get to that recovery position, they have to know that they have you subdued, and then they can roll you over. Now, I know that that's a tough situation to be in, especially if you.
Well, it's just the verbalization of saying I'm starting to feel as if I'm losing air is not the. That's why I can't breathe. Is just what you say. It's almost a childlike response.
Yeah. But he's just
or a dishonest response
so
that people
many times,
use reflexively to try and get out of being
and cops
by
have heard
officers.
it a million times.
It could be.
You know,
I'm not.
No, yeah, I know. That's clearly what was going on here. In other words, the reason I can't breathe. If he was saying, "All right, look, hey, I don't like cars. Can you put me on the ground? Okay, all right, I'm gonna go," and then goes, "Oh man, I can't breathe. Can you ease up?" Very, very different from.
Yeah.
All right, man, put your hands behind my back. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. I'm that kind of guy. My mom's dead. I can't breathe. I can't breathe. Hey, look, get in the back. I can't. I'm not that kind of guy, man. I ain't gonna do. Don't leave me. Don't leave me. Don't leave me. I can't breathe. Look. Put me on the ground. Put me on the ground. Put me on the ground. At no point did he stop from the moment he was pulled out of his car saying, I can't breathe. And that's why it was treated just like the other 27 times of I can't breathe when they knew he could breathe.
Right. And it just shows you that there are other possible explanations for what happened other than a white guy who's a cop killed a black guy, which is what the media has been telling us.
Let's say he's guilty. Let's say
Yeah.
he's guilty for manslaughter, okay? And I
Yes.
don't believe that he is. You and I disagree on that because of the legal definition, I don't think it meets it. We also have to allow for the fact that everything being carried out up until this point was kosher. And let's just say we disagree in the last 9 minutes, that it isn't due to racism, that it's due to a guy who's fed up with someone high off his mind, being a difficult dick and wanting to go home to his wife that night. Maybe he had a bad day and was like, all right, okay, now I'm just going to keep you here until the paramedics get here. It doesn't necessarily mean it has anything to do with race, even if you allow for the possibility of manslaughter. And the pivot to this is racial. By the way, other officers are there's one guy who's a minority. Is it two who are minorities?
At least
one's black and one's Latino?
At least one.
Yeah. Asian. We have
Asian.
So there was an Asian officer.
Well, back then, that's when Asians didn't matter, but now they're the newest victim. Now there's Black Lives Matter,
They count
Asian
as
Lives
white,
Matter, which is careful, almost getting to All Lives Matter.
Careful, ease up. You add one more.
What are we, a white supremacist nation?
Oh, okay.
Okay, that guy's.
Oh yeah, those two guys are white for sure.
He's in some movies, right?
He was all looking like Dave.
He was there when they dropped the bomb.
Totally a joke, guys. Come on, I gotta lighten the mood here.
All right, okay, sorry, we need to hear this man talk. No, nothing wrong with this.
Responsive. He was calling out for his life. He was struggling. He was not passing out. Now you're also going to hear from a forensic pathologist, Dr. Lindsay Thomas. And what she does as a forensic pathologist, she studies body tissues on autopsy to try to determine the cause and manner of death. She did this over a 35-year career as a forensic pathologist.
Doctor?
Over that period of time, she had done medical.
Well, she's a PA.
Okay, well,
that's good enough.
Fine.
Of the 87 we have.
She's a nurse, and we needed something a little sexy. We needed something a little sexy.
Determined.
OJ had the Kardashians and shit.
Oh boy.
Of others. She's semi-retired now and works as a consultant still in the field of pathology. She was one of the persons who helped to train the current Hennepin County medical examiner, Dr. Andrew Baker, when he was just getting started out in forensic pathology.
Oh, Hennepin
Now
County.
here's where Dr.
Is
Baker
that the examiner who said there
and
was
Dr.
no
Thomas
proof of asphyxiation?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's him, Andrew Baker.
So,
Andrew Baker?
Findings
Baker.
from Dr. Baker.
Maybe he should stick to making gay cakes.
When he lists manner of death for George Floyd, homicide. Now, I want to explain to you that when he uses homicide, it's not the way that we use it here in the courtroom. When the medical examiner says homicide, it simply means that the person died at the hands of another, is what that means. And I will show you what list that's chosen from in just a minute, and Dr. Thomas will come in and testify about that. But it means that he died at the hands of another. But you'll also learn that he listed a cause of death: cardiopulmonary arrest, complicating law enforcement subdual, restraint, and neck compression. Now, I'm going to translate it into English, and you'll hear this from Dr. Thomas.
Wait, are they
Cause
trying to
of
say
death,
this is from a separate
person?
A separate person, because this is not the Hennepin. They just mentioned. They just conflated it. The Hennepin County autopsy did not show that.
They were saying that this person trained.
This person trained that person.
Yeah, so
this
they're
is
much
a third
better than
party.
them. They must be.
Right. So they're trying, but do you see what he just did there? He tried to make it seem as though it's somehow connected to the county, whereas the county said no.
Yeah.
We have that collage right here. That there was fentanyl in the system, a lethal amount of fentanyl.
Yeah.
Was it methamphetamine or crack cocaine?
Methamphetamine, 19 nanograms per milliliter.
And
So is that
the autopsy revealed that no physical findings support a diagnosis of traumatic asphyxiation or strangulation. That's the official from the county.
Okay.
These people doctor shopped and found someone else to.
Look at that.
Okay.
What he's quoting from is a press release.
Yeah, what he's quoting from there's a press release.
Not.
So they didn't actually examine the body.
I don't know. I don't know if she examined the body post.
Okay.
Or what? But they're quoting from a press release trying to make it seem like, well, no, this is the official.
Here's
story.
what they're saying. She trained the Hennepin County examiner,
Right.
and
Okay.
she believes this. But the Hennepin County examiner, the official examination, the autopsy report says
the person that actually
no.
saw the body.
The person
So
who
he
actually
was
did the examination.
He was trained by a lady doctor, and we're taking this all seriously. This whole thing should be thrown out.
He brings up a.
You're horrible.
I'm just. Come on, guys.
You're doing.
All right, hold on a second. So how
Try
the
the
injury
fish.
or disease leads to death?
Taste the soup.
Car accident can be an accidental death. Suicide, homicide, which is when they chose death at the hands of another,
Thank you.
or undetermined, that if you can't tell which it is or what it is, you indicate undetermined. And here you'll learn that Dr. Andrew Baker and Dr. Thomas determined amongst these possible manners of death, it wasn't natural, not accidental, not suicide, not undetermined, it was homicide, death at the hands of another. But that's not all that Dr. Thomas is going to tell you. She's going to tell you something about the limitations of pathology. That is looking at the
What's
tissues
the name
of
of
persons
the
after
coroner
they've been
or the
deceased.
county medical examiner?
And trying to determine
Hennepin County?
Baker. It was Andrew Baker.
Baker. So they're saying Baker and Thomas both came to this conclusion. That's what he just said.
Yeah, but right now I'm reading this right here. Hennepin County Medical Examiner conducted George Floyd May 26, 2020. Full report is pending. The autopsy revealed no physical findings that supported diagnosis of traumatic asphyxia or strangulation. Mr. Floyd had underlying health conditions, including coronary artery disease and hypertensive heart disease. The combined effects of Mr. Floyd being restrained by the police, his underlying health conditions, and any potential intoxicants in his system likely contributed to his death. And then the next note right here that I have, and you can bring this up, I believe says, Andrew Baker said that if Mr. Floyd had been found dead in his home or anywhere else and there were no other contributing factors, he would conclude that it was an overdose death. So in other words, there are these contributing factors. And what they're having to say is that it wasn't an accident like slipping in the tub. So you have to categorize it.
It should have been
in one of those
undetermined
5 categories.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it seems.
But like you said, homicide means death he's saying at the hands of another involving someone else at that
right,
point.
yeah. And now what that means is difficult for law. They're not saying that legally he's responsible for that death. Right. They're just saying that in this case, but yeah, I guess.
Well, and if
that's fine.
You weren't on fentanyl and you died because of that, that's one thing. But yeah. If there's so many factors that could be into play to create that bomb.
Yeah.
That it's
put it this way. Technically, if I was on a bunch of fentanyl and methamphetamine and I went to the bathroom, came out, and you went boo, and I dropped dead from a heart attack,
right,
that would have to be medically listed as a homicide.
Right.
Doesn't mean you're guilty of murder or manslaughter.
Maybe
and he's tried.
I have, and I have some.
He pulls the old slip the fentanyl and methamphetamine in my Cheerios trick.
I do.
Right.
Now, I'm going, wait a second.
Yeah.
Am I
again?
Am I really superhuman, able to leap buildings in a single bound, or is this just Dave's old fentanyl and meth and the Cheerios trick?
Yep. And for some reason, we have a lot of ghost costumes here.
Yeah.
That is strange.
Now, by the way, just to confirm, just to make sure everybody's on the same page here, if Chauvin is kneeling on this guy's neck, thinking, "All right, finally, I get to take my revenge on the black man. I'm not getting up until he's dead," we would all say, "Fry him," right?
Yes.
Of course.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, yeah, in a heartbeat.
But so that's what the media is saying, that this is why this happened.
Right.
And we're saying, well, hold on. There doesn't seem to be any evidence of that. There still doesn't seem to be any evidence of that.
Yeah.
His wife was Miss Minnesota.
Good for him.
Really?
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
That's not exactly Miss Argentina or Venezuela.
No.
Not the same.
The talent pool's a little more shallow.
They're basically half of that talent pool is pulled from the 4-H club.
Well, that's true. If it's right, I believe she's of Asian descent.
Ah.
Yeah.
And Miss Minnesota. Not to be confused with Miss Michigan. My right hand, right, Crowder?
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Get it? Yeah, we've all dated her.
I don't know.
Right.
I'm a
Thank
lefty.
you.
I go reverse European.
I'm sorry. No one deserved that.
And I just died from that joke.
He says he was claustrophobic.
I'm
And then he has to
responsible.
Oh, wait, hold on a second. This is important.
But he
Talking about
count my
claustrophobic.
way into the squad car. And he starts trying to count 1, 2, up, then manhandle him, shove him into the car with the handcuffs on, and you'll see how he freaks out from that. You hear him saying, "I can't breathe," in the back of the squad car, and we will show you in the back of the squad car where Mr. Chauvin at one point had his hands around Mr. Floyd's neck in the squad car, and another, his arm and elbow around his neck with Mr. Floyd's head here, when they were pulling him out of the squad car, putting him on the ground in the prone position.
That couldn't be less. What are you going to grab when he's flopping like a fish in the car? Do people understand the difference between a choke and a headlock?
Yeah.
Look, headlocks in high school wrestling, legal. Chokes are not. A headlock is how you grab someone. It's like you grab your brother. You're pulling someone out of the car because you can't get him into the car. This guy's making a case against himself right now.
Well, and also, if Floyd's 6'4", 223 pounds, like, you're supposed to, like, grab him by the pinky. Like,
Well, and that's how you save somebody who's drowning. You put your arm around their neck and under their arm and pull them to safety.
Yes.
Like, it's used.
Did he say around his neck and under his arm?
He didn't say under his arm, just around his neck.
Yeah.
This way with 5 grown men, armed police officers present.
So you want them to shoot him? They're armed.
Is that true?
What?
I didn't see a chokehold in the car.
I didn't see a chokehold in the car either.
You'll see it.
No, but it's not. He didn't even say chokehold. He said he had his arm around his neck.
Oh,
so in other words, he grabbed him and pulled him out of the car.
Gotcha.
But he's trying to conflate. Look, he was already
Couldn't
choking.
breathe because
in other
of
words,
that.
he's saying that he was saying he couldn't breathe because of that. But we already showed you footage where George Floyd was saying, "I can't breathe" when he was sitting. George Floyd was in this exact position, sitting, saying, "I can't breathe. I can't breathe. I can't breathe." It has nothing to do with a headlock to place him by request on the ground, and it has nothing to do with the reason he was saying I can't breathe, the control position on the ground. He was saying it when there was no reason to believe it. So anyone who's watched this video, the full tape, he just made a case against himself. This attorney right now. This is important to note. He just made the case against himself saying, and you can see George Floyd saying I can't breathe in the car. So people who haven't seen this tape are going to go, wait a second.
Right.
I thought he only said I can't breathe when he was on the ground.
Yeah.
He was saying I can't breathe the entire time. That's the point.
Boy, he lost his job when the COVID pandemic hit, so that's a whole interesting circle.
Right. All right. So
was as a person, because he
I thought he was going to show the tape of the armor on the neck. Guess he'll just describe it.
Yeah,
No,
unless there's like another body cam angle, like it looks like he's got an arm under.
Can we see it? Can we?
He's got like an arm under Floyd's arm, but there's
Yeah,
nothing
that's what I
showing
see.
that he
That's
has
an
a headlock. Right, there's an underhook, and then when he pulls him out, he doesn't have a headlock.
Let me see. So that's not a headlock.
Yeah.
Is this the Chauvin body camera, or which one is Chauvin?
No, I think Chauvin has his arm around him.
Yeah, I think this is the other guy, Lane. I think.
Oh, Lane. I think that was his point.
Yeah,
okay,
so
well, it's on his
no
neck.
headlock.
No
headlock.
He's not hurting.
It's nothing.
him.
No,
you're right. He's escorting him out. It's not. I don't know. I don't like this.
Engaging in eminently dangerous behavior, putting the knee on the neck, the knee on the back, for 9 minutes and 29 seconds without regard for Mr. Floyd's life. We're going to ask that you find him guilty of murder in the second degree, murder in the third degree.
So let me bring this up. Again, the bar that needs to be passed for murder, I have these definitions written in front of me. So murder third degree, if he wants to charge a murder third degree, defined, whoever without intent to affect the death of any person causes the death of another by perpetrating an act eminently dangerous to others and evincing a depraved mind without regard for human life is guilty of murder in the third degree. So he would have had to cause the death, which again is not from the toxicology report. Do we have murder in the second degree?
Yeah.
Defense. Yeah, we have the defense argument now.
We're going to spend a lot of time talking about doubt. But for purposes of my remarks this morning, I want to talk about reason and common sense and how that applies to the evidence that you're about to see during the course of this trial. Reason is an idea that wholly permeates our law, our legal system, and it forms the foundation. And you will see and hear that repeatedly throughout the course of this trial.
He's funny on Big Bang Theory.
What would a reasonable police officer do? What is a reasonable use of force? What would a reasonable person do in his or her most important affairs? What is a reasonable doubt? As such, reason dictates and necessitates how the evidence must be looked at and analyzed in every single case. And common sense is exactly that. It's common sense. Common sense tells you that there are always two sides to a
Why
story.
are we worrying about the
Common
fitting
sense tells
of
us
masks
that we need
if
to
hockey
examine the
boards
totality of the
suffice?
circumstances to determine the meaning of
COVID can't go over 7 feet.
This whole thing is just unreal. Every bit of this courtroom and everything happening.
In other words, common sense is the application of sound judgment
down to his
based
open
upon
mic
a
or tie.
reasoned
Oh, it really
analysis.
is, isn't it?
And that's what this case is ultimately about. It's about the evidence in this case. The evidence that you will see in this case during this trial. It is, I agree with counsel for the state.
Rosebud.
It is nothing more than that. There is no political or social cause in this courtroom.
There is
But
with the people ready to
evidence is
beat your
far
ass
greater
outside that
than
courtroom.
9 minutes
Yeah,
and 29
that's-
seconds. In this case, you will learn that the evidence has been collected broadly and expansively. Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension employed nearly 50 case agents, analysts, and technicians to investigate this case. The Federal Bureau of Investigation included at least 28 additional agents in their investigation.
Were all the other cops fired?
These
also?
agents combined.
Do you know?
Yeah.
I know that 2 of them were. I don't know that all.
The last ones to come on the scene, maybe not, but I think you're right. Like
The 2 that were
people
with
were
him.
around trying to put her in the car.
Okay. I knew something happened, but I wasn't sure.
Including the officers who responded to the scene after Mr. Floyd was brought to the hospital. They interviewed members of the Minneapolis Police Department command staff. They interviewed officers who oversee training and policy-making decisions within the Minneapolis Police Department. They have interviewed nearly 200 civilian witnesses in this case. Some of these witnesses saw the entire incident, some who saw a portion of the incident, many who saw nothing, and some who had some piece of information to give to the officers, and others
Can you
who
stop
had
stepping to and away from the microphone like I am
agents
Sam?
interviewed the numerous medical personnel who interviewed.
He's like Joe Biden.
I
think Chauvin needs to go home right now.
You never go full retard.
By the way, it looks like all the cops were fired.
All of them were fired?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
Search warrants in
4,
this
right?
case to
So
gather
4.
information.
I knew that 2 were, and then I
6 total ended up there, so I think the last 2 were fine.
Throughout, I believe, this case called the Bates stamp number. The Bates stamp system is a way for lawyers to keep track of the case, to make sure that we are working from the same set of documents, the same set of evidence, to preserve the integrity of the investigation. You will learn that we are approaching 50,000 Bates stamped items. So this case is clearly more than about 9 minutes and 29 seconds.
Go ahead, go pee. Go urinate, Dave, because
As you
I
all
do too
saw
after
during
this.
jury selection. The witness
We'll switch
list in
off.
this case neared 400 people.
Make it quick, or
So
you'll
how
need
do we
glasses.
begin to analyze and organize this evidence? I suggest that you let common sense and reason guide you. I propose that every witness you will hear from and every piece of evidence that you will see or hear during this trial can be assigned to one of 4 basic locations. Cup Foods, the Mercedes-Benz, Squad 320, and Hennepin
So
County
here's the
Medical
challenge, too, though, that he's making. The challenge with his case. The first man came out, and even though it wasn't particularly factually based, it was entirely an appeal to emotion.
Oh, yeah.
And this guy's saying, I'm just going with the evidence. He's got to do both.
Yeah.
He's got to do both.
So far, I'm picking Vinny.
While they were there, they ran into their
going
other
with this
friend,
guy.
or Mr. Floyd's ex-girlfriend, Shawanda Hill, and he offered her a ride. You will hear from Chris Martin, who is the store clerk at Cup Foods.
Chris Martin?
Mr. Martin observed Mr. Floyd.
Shows up.
He watched his body language. He interacted with Mr. Floyd in this moment.
Best.
Mr.
And the
Martin
cup was
formed the
all
opinion
yellow.
That Mr. Floyd was under the influence of something.
Well, one of them was.
You can't call him
You
that.
will see the actual video from inside Cup Foods. Mr. Floyd did use a counterfeit $20 bill to
Oh, so it was
purchase a pack
counterfeit.
of cigarettes. Mr. Martin realized this, and first, along with another one of his co-workers named Nabil Walter, went outside to the car where Mr. Floyd, Mr. Hall, and Ms. Hill were sitting. Mr. Martin asked Mr. Floyd to come in and either buy the cigarettes, exchange, or return the cigarettes. And you will hear from Mr. Martin that Mr. Hall and Mr. Floyd refused. You will hear that a short time later, Mr. Martin went back to the car a second time. He went back to ask them again, please come inside, give us the money, or return the cigarettes. And that second time, again, Mr. Floyd refused.
Now, I wasn't fully aware of that
So,
interaction,
at
which
8:01
is kind of
PM,
important because that's
second
George
clerk
Floyd being a
from
dick
Cup Foods
to a
named
local
Omar Kamara
member of the community who
called
just doesn't
911
want to
to
be
report
fleeced for a
Mr.
pack of
Floyd.
cigarettes.
Right.
During that
Doesn't
call,
mean he
Mr.
deserved.
Kamara
Of course not. But again, people try and paint it as though this is a guy who had a prior criminal history a long time ago. But like a Tukey Williams thing.
Yeah.
Now is really look when people talk about we need to serve and protect our own community. George Floyd was ripping off shop owners, and the shop owner was giving him an out, saying, "Look, please, hey, look, man, this is fake.
Yeah.
Give me the cigarettes back or pay for it."
Because
Twice, two times.
he can call the police immediately.
Yeah.
He was giving him a chance.
They faced parking southbound in the northbound lane of Chicago Avenue and were directed by store employees immediately to the second location, the Mercedes-Benz. During this trial, you will hear evidence of what happened in the Mercedes-Benz in the 20 to 30 minutes prior to the police arriving. You will hear from Mr. Floyd's friends, Shawanda Hill and Maurice Hall. This will include evidence that while they were in the car, Mr. Floyd consumed what were thought to be 2 Percocet pills. Mr. Floyd's friends will explain that Mr. Floyd fell asleep in the car and that they couldn't wake him up.
Oh, that's right. I forgot that the toxicology report had oxycodone as well, right?
The police might be coming because now the store was coming out.
It's just sort of you take the, you take the marquee drug, which is fentanyl, but oxycodone for most is pretty potent. To begin with.
Prince to come and pick her up because they couldn't keep Mr. Floyd awake. At 8:09 p.m., Officers Lane and King approached the vehicle, and Officer Lane approached the driver's side of the vehicle, and Officer King approached the passenger side. During the course of this trial, you will see.
You missed it. So not only was it a counterfeit 20, we didn't know this because I think some of this is new evidence. Not only was it a counterfeit 20, but the guy who gave them the pack of cigarettes for a counterfeit 20 knew it and asked them kindly to, hey, please give me back my cigarettes or pay with real money. George Floyd blew him off, went to his car. The shopkeeper from Cup Foods went back to him, said, please just give me back the cigarettes or pay me for the cigarettes. So George Floyd knew that it was counterfeit, and he had 2 outs from the shopkeeper before the police were notified.
So blue and counterfeit 20, you really do have cameras in your bathroom.
And handcuffed.
I'm sorry. I'll
and you
be
will
over
see
here.
and hear everything that these officers and Mr. Floyd say.
I didn't know
to
that,
each
though.
other.
I don't think he's a counterfeiter guy, though.
I don't think he is, but it just shows complete disregard for members of the community, where it's like a guy like, please, man, just give me back my cigarettes, or give me real money. I have to make a living. 2 times.
And that's
George
why the
Floyd
guy
says
got
no.
pissed.
Yeah. Well, the guy didn't get pissed. I think he notified the police. Notified the police after giving him 2 times, trying to not bring the cops into it.
Yeah.
He responds to the scene to assist Officers King and Lane, and he helps in detaining the passengers. You will see Officer Chang's body-worn camera, and you will hear his interactions. This becomes important as we
Chang
learn
the
about
Asian
police
guy?
practices.
No.
Because what you will learn is that when an officer responds to what is
It
sometimes
was a Mortal Kombat
routine
3 character.
Was it? I thought so.
Showed up.
It often evolves
Johnny Chang.
into a greater and more serious event. You will see surveillance videos near Squad 320 from a local business called the Dragon Walk that capture the actions and reactions of everyone present at that location.
Dragon Walk. Betting that's an Ethiopian restaurant?
I'm guessing.
Of further concealment of controlled substances. During the course of the investigation, 2 search warrants were executed on the Mercedes-Benz. The first on May 27th of 2020, the second several months later on December 9th of 2020.
Now, see, that is important, folks, though. The defense said, you will see and hear everything that these officers and Mr. Floyd said to each other. That's important. It's very different from the prosecution, who said, look at this clip. Look at this clip. We're going to show you this clip. You're going to hear from this person who isn't officially with the county, but who trained them and who says that it could have maybe been this. Right now, this guy said, full and complete transparency. Now, that's not proof in and of itself, but I will say this. When you have 2 parties in a disagreement and one is opting for complete and total transparency and one is fighting against that, that is usually a red flag. When there is one person involved with this conflict, altercation, in this case 2 lawyers, demanding full transparency and one requesting no, that it's more opaque, right away you should take note.
The evidence will show that as Officers King and Lane escorted Mr. Floyd to
Yeah,
their
if you're
squad
willing to
car,
show every
the
word
citizen by the
being
name of
said,
Charles McMillian walked
I mean, it is
alongside
definitely worth listening to.
And he was encouraging Mr. Floyd to cooperate with the officers.
I mean,
In
you
the
have to.
car, you can't win. The evidence will show that Mr. Floyd and the officers began to struggle as they attempted to get him in the squad car. And you will learn that Officers Derek Chauvin and his partner Tu Tao arrived to assist Officers King and Lane
pronounced
at 8:16 and 48 seconds.
Guy's
Almost
racist, man.
Upon their arrival, the first thing that Officer Chauvin sees is Officers King and Lane struggling with Mr. Floyd. Mr. Chauvin asked the
You know what's
officers,
super
"Is he
ironic? King's first name, Rodney.
I was going to say, it's like they all these cops were they all named after the Mr. Rogers, like the Mr. Rogers convention? It's like first was King Tuesday to the scene, followed by Lady Lane.
Prince Wednesday.
Prince Wednesday.
Yeah.
Wasn't it King Tuesday and Prince Wednesday?
I think so.
And then the Ron Paul Muppet looking Lady Lane.
Oh, Lady Lane, yeah.
Weighs 223 pounds. You will learn that because of this intersection at 38th and Chicago is considered
King
a high
Friday.
crime area, the
King
city
Friday,
installs what's called the
Was it King
milestone
Friday?
video
Yeah.
system. It's
Was
a
it
camera that
Princess
sits high
Wednesday?
atop a pole and can surveil the entire intersection.
Tuesday wasn't really what mattered. His name was King.
When you
Either way,
see these
it hit worse.
Yeah, it's true.
back from afar,
There's a reason
you will be able
Okinawans
to
were rated
see
worst
the
sense of humor on the
Minneapolis
planet.
police
That's
squad
something, isn't
rocking
it?
back and forth,
Boy, do they carry a
rocking back
grudge.
and forth
They do.
during this struggle. So much so that it catches the attention of the 911 dispatcher, Jenna Scurry. This was not an easy struggle. As the struggle continues, you will see and hear both what Mr. Floyd was saying to the officers and the officers' responses
Makes me a little
to him.
uneasy that
Mr.
his
Floyd was
partner
up on
there
the
is
street
writing down notes like he's surprised.
Yeah.
We're talking about that?
So much
Oh,
so that they
is that what I'm here for?
Oh,
I think that's Chauvin.
I was about to say, I think that's Officer Chauvin.
Oh,
This
is
is
it?
a nice-
Sorry,
yeah.
keep in mind I'm
He's
looking
He's
at
just
a
right now
small
like,
screen.
shit, all this sucks.
It looks like
okay.
he's checking stuff off.
Okay.
Mr. Chauvin used
He's
his
just
knee
penning off how many stitches he's gotten in his anus so far.
Guys, I need a 4-letter word for screwed.
Yeah, anybody?
Officer King was placed
He's just playing hangman
below
and it's him.
Mr. Floyd's buttocks, and Officer Lane was at the feet. And you will see and hear them continue to struggle with Mr. Floyd as he's attempting
What did you just
to
think
kick.
of that you wouldn't say?
What?
You just thought of something that you didn't want to say.
Oh, I said a few. I thought of a few things. I'll just say I thought of a word that would be funny that he was using to play hangman with. That's your own interpretation.
You're going.
But
Oh,
here's
starts
what
with a
you
C,
also
not
see.
that word.
Oh, okay.
You will see and hear the conversation.
I just realized
between
that
the
that sounded.
officers behind
No, that's not the
squad.
joke.
The crowd is not aware
But that is
of what
also
they are
funny.
saying and doing. You will learn
good
that
backup.
several bystanders.
Well, there's
including
a
Donald,
movie with Matt Damon and Greg Kinnear where he's like, "What's
Oh, the twins?
Yeah, it's supposed to be
Stuck
Kurt.
on You.
Yeah, and it's like
I love how
what's-
you know the name of the movie, but you didn't want to reference because you're slightly ashamed.
I made a poster of me and you. Well, my friend Steve did
Oh.
as the twins that I put up the other day. I'm not ashamed.
Well, I can't see it because I can't get on Twitter.
Oh, I know. But it's he's like something about like what would a woman be agitated, and the word is curse, and he's like, oh, I was way off.
There are cars stopping.
That's what I thought with Hangman and him playing Scrabble, and then I made a joke that just
Well, could have gone the other way.
it could have.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Either way, there'll be a write-up.
Well, yeah, we can look forward to what's that stupid magazine that
Doesn't matter.
takes everything out of context and
Screaming at him.
humor out of life.
Causing the
We don't need
officers
to use
to
their name.
divert their
Yeah, I
attention
agree.
from the care of Mr. Floyd.
I don't even
It's
know.
Out magazine. Yeah. that's-
Is it Out magazine? It's what we have stacks of in the bathroom.
emerge about the reasonableness of the use of force. And this will ultimately become one of the
I also have
decisions that
In
you have to
magazine. It's when you just stay in the closet.
To answer these questions, the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension, the evidence will show that the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension investigated the Minneapolis Police Department's training and policies. You will learn about things such as the authorized use of force, proportionality of force, excited delirium, defensive tactics, including prone handcuffing, neck restraints, maximal restraint technique, the swarm technique. You will learn about rapidly evolving situations and the Minneapolis Police Department's decision-making model. You will learn about crowd control, medical intervention, de-escalation, procedural justice, crisis intervention, and the human factors
Right now, someone
of
on the
force.
jury is going,
That is what
cat me with a spoon.
This is the worst.
Ugh.
Go ahead and start the PowerPoint.
And they took away my sidekick.
And you will learn.
Hey, don't forget, I think we have an update from Thomas Finnegan.
Oh, yeah, really quick. Oh, you know what? Is he there still?
Over the course of his
Yeah, I think he's
years.
still there.
Okay, so hold on. Let's check before we continue with this because we don't know how much longer it'll be. I'm getting word. Yeah, the Thomas Finnegan is still in the George Floyd Autonomous Zone in Minneapolis on the ground. Let's check in with Thomas Finnegan. Okay, Thomas, what's going on there in the autonomous zone? Thomas?
Oh, no.
He'll be fine. Let's go back to the guy behind
we can only hope.
Let's go back to the guy behind the plexiglass.
Yeah.
Final location.
How hilarious would it be if the bailiff just ran up and cross-checked him? Boom!
Then the bailiff,
the glass.
Then the bailiff has to stand in there for 2 minutes.
Looking all sad and pathetic.
Yeah.
Officers called for paramedics to
All right, since you guys both did it, I really have to pee.
Go ahead.
Had a nose injury. Hold down the fort. Bleeding from the nose.
I'm coming out.
Make sure Dave
Don't come out.
I want the world to know. What?
Hey, Dave, I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Who is the funny guy on Big Bang Theory?
None.
None of them.
Just making sure.
I just thought he looked a bit like Johnny Galicki, who was, I think that's how you say it, who was, you might know him as the third Russ in the Vacation series.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But no, that is a terrible show. I don't understand. Oh, no, I do understand why it aired for so long. It's because people like crap.
Yeah.
And people are dumb.
We do, and we are.
I really hate that show.
It's the worst. It is the worst show.
It should be on trial right now. We should be watching the trial of everybody involved, the trial of Chuck Lorre for creating the television that he has, except my friend Billy's show. Go, Billy.
Yeah. And they did what they refer to as a load and go because of the crowd. They came, they picked up Mr. Rather than attempting to resuscitate him or treat him on the scene, they loaded him into the ambulance and they drove to a location several blocks away to begin their resuscitative efforts. And you will hear.
Do you think he dyes the soul patch of his beard? I feel like he does, right? He's like, this is a little Wolfman jacket.
Was transported to the emergency
Pretty cool
department.
guy.
Hennepin County efforts to save Mr. Floyd were made at the direction
His
of Dr.
tie is like
Bradford
made of a couch.
Again,
Like I would have worn to my grandmother's funeral
Yeah.
in the 90s.
In fact, my grandmother did wear that to her funeral.
Yes, she did.
Oh, that's so sad.
My grandfather did around his neck.
Oh,
Well, it wasn't his funeral, it's just how they found him. What?
Patterned.
What's dark?
The evidence will show then that Dr. Andrew Baker
Is that
of the
woman
Hennepin
wearing
County
sandals
Medical
like
Examiner's
Birkenstocks
office
of sorts?
conducted the only autopsy
leopard
of Mr.
print.
Floyd.
She's
Hold
got
on,
some
let's listen
thick
to this real
ankles.
quick.
Of several
Real quick,
interviews
listen to this
that
part.
Dr. Baker had with law enforcement,
Guilty
where
of thick
he
ankles.
discusses the cause and manner of death and what that actually means according to what he saw present in Mr.
Yeah,
Floyd's
this
body.
is important right here.
And some of this evidence is extremely important to the final determination
What
of
I just
Mr.
said.
Floyd's cause of
We
death.
know. Move on.
You should be a
Findings
lawyer.
include things such as the blood gas test that was taken at HCMC that revealed Mr. Floyd had an exceptional.
I don't even like the guy. I think there's something. Oh, hey, Steve.
You're going to want to listen to this. He's talking cause of death from the
Baker
original
found
stuff.
None of what are referred to
For
as the
yeah.
telltale signs of asphyxiation. There were no bruises to Mr. Floyd's neck.
No telltale signs of
either on
asphyxiation.
his skin or after peeling his skin back to the muscles beneath. There was no petechial hemorrhaging. There was no evidence that Mr. Floyd's airflow was restricted, and he did not determine to be a positional or mechanical asphyxia death. At the time Mr. Floyd was in the hospital, a femoral blood draw was taken. That blood draw was analyzed by a lab. The results of Mr. Floyd's
I found out there's a lot of blood in the
screen
femur because
revealed the
remember when I
presence
fractured my
of
femur?
fentanyl
I didn't tear my ACL, and there was so
methamphetamine,
much blood they were
among
concerned.
other
That
things.
was from my femur.
And it will be important.
Cocaine with the blood.
That's not Is it where your femoral artery goes through your leg?
I don't know. I'm not a doctor.
You're not?
The autopsy
What's that
revealed
PhD
many
you showed me
other
before the
issues,
physical you gave me?
including coronary
Right next to the Out
disease,
magazine stat.
an enlarged heart, what's called a paraganglioma.
Oh, it
which
felt
is a
good for me
tumor
too,
that
though.
Secretes adrenaline, swelling or edema of the
considerate.
lungs.
Well,
And the state
It's not
was
assault if you like it.
satisfied with Dr. Baker's work.
So this is
And so
important
they have
because they said someone who trained Dr. Baker. He's talking about the actual
to
report.
contradict Dr. Baker's findings. And this will ultimately be another significant battle in this trial. What was Mr. Floyd's actual cause of death? The evidence will show that Mr. Floyd died of a cardiac arrhythmia that occurred as a result of hypertension, his coronary disease, the ingestion of methamphetamine and fentanyl, and the adrenaline flowing through his body, all of which acted to further
and they said he took several Percocet just right before that.
Heart.
Yeah.
At the conclusion of this evidence, you will be instructed as to the law, the elements of the offense, and the court will give you detailed instructions on what you must find to convict Mr. Chauvin of these charges. But when you review the actual evidence, and when you hear the law and apply reason and common sense, there will only be one just verdict, and that is to find Mr. Chauvin not guilty.
You know what's weird is that for many people in the country, that's the first time they're hearing any of that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
What do you say?
About 11:15.
They're gonna recess.
I want you to keep in mind that these breaks we try and keep as much as we can to time, but if bathroom needs and other needs are important, we can expand it a little bit. So
he's giving himself an out.
11:15.
Yeah,
it's like
I got a lot backed up.
I have to make a big poop.
Yes.
Sometimes it takes a little while.
I have to drop some kids off at the pool.
Take you back to the
And I'm very thorough with my paperwork.
11:15.
Yeah, 15-minute recess.
15 minutes, then what are they going to do after this? This was opening statements, then what are they
They're going to probably jump into it. I mean,
Really?
Yeah.
How long do we have to do this show today?
I don't think we should cover all of it because it's going to be a long trial.
Right.
It's going to be
So-
long.
You guys let us know. You leave in the comment
No, no,
section if you
don't
want
let
us
us
to
know. No,
Well, I'm
no.
just saying, not just for today, but do people want, because this is going to go on for a while. Should
Right.
we be
Yeah.
covering this every day?
I think it's good to check in on this every day because a lot of people are going to be watching this.
Yeah.
But I think it was incredibly important for him to lay it out the way he just did. He's like, guys, they had their report and they weren't satisfied with it. And don't think like, oh, it's just, people wanting this. Just remember what was going on. Protests were erupting all over the place in that city. They were threatening to burn things down. They were threatening to burn down City Hall, right? If they didn't come out with this. And so immediately they're like, crap, that report says it wasn't asphyxiation. It was probably some kind of an overdose. And now we've got to put something else out there. Otherwise, this crowd is going to get crazy.
Right.
Remember the political implications of what was going on and who stepped in.
Well, for me, this is the point that really bothers me. And look, we'll talk more about Chauvin and George Floyd. And I think this is sad. This is all very sad. However, the point that really sticks out to me is when the left right now going, and we got to fix these problems in America where now it's systemically racist everywhere. So the narrative is, of course, cops are racist. Disregard the fact that there are more black officers than there are percentage of the population. Certainly minority officers when you include Latino and black officers because they want to. Let's disregard that. They go, we need to fix this right now, and we need to help those in the black community. Okay, this is doing all of this together. In totality, is doing the exact opposite of that. That's what makes me so sad.
Yeah.
Do you know what's harming the black community? Is not officers shooting unarmed black men, like we've said. It's 9 in the year 2019 versus 19 white guys. And they're over 18 times more likely, police officers, to be shot by black men than to shoot a black man. Let's be really, really clear. Black men in this community are 37 times more likely to commit violent crime, according to an Obama report, right? 37 times more likely to commit violent crime, okay? Why? Well, we just skimmed over why. We always think that in these areas, people talk about how they're close-knit in urban communities and in black areas. And I think to a degree that's probably more true than white communities because there isn't necessarily a kinship with white people. You can be white Irish, you can be white Italian, you can be white Norwegian, German. I'm a mutt, French, English, Irish, Scottish, German. But if we're talking about how closely knit those communities, why do we think that black men commit crimes at 37 times that violent crimes, the national average? Well, we just saw 2 examples right there in real time, which are not nearly as severe, with George Floyd as jamming a pistol into the gut of a lady while her toddler watches, but giving a counterfeit bill to someone in his community, a shopkeeper. I don't know if the shopkeeper is black, Asian, but lives in that community, and was given 2 opportunities to do the right thing, and didn't care to. Hey, that guy has a family to feed. That guy is actually supporting his community by running a business. And by the way, trying to help his community by knowing that someone who's likely high as a kite, who gave him a counterfeit bill, which of course takes money out of his pocket, still not wanting to alert the authorities 2 times saying, hey, Mr. Floyd, this is not a real bill, please. And he gave him 2 options. Either give me money for the cigarettes or please just give the cigarettes back, please. George Floyd blew him off, went back to his car. He goes out to the car before he calls the cops. Please, man, look. Think of it this way. I've got kids to feed, okay? 20. Look, please just, I can't. This is the 5th time this week. The guy's probably been held up. Please just look, give me the cigarettes back or pay me the money. George Floyd didn't give a shit. This happened twice before he then popped Percocet in addition to his fentanyl and his methamphetamine and lying to the cops. How many other crimes do you think he committed that day? That week. The issue right now, if we want to talk about improving the quality of life for those in the black community, is we need to talk about these behavioral patterns and the family unit. Because someone like that does not deserve to die. But someone like that only causes harm when they go through their life selfishly, unabashedly so. And that's not common. That shouldn't be common. That shouldn't be a part of your community. You want more people in your community like the shopkeeper, and you want more people in your community who join the police force than people like George Floyd. People, rest assured, when I say this, this is not saying that George Floyd deserved to die, and certainly not that day. We're going to hear the evidence on that case. But George Floyd, the way he acted, the way we know that he's acted throughout his life, is far more of a problem for these kinds of communities than policing. George Floyd is the problem. George Floyd is a problem. Mugging a woman with her children. We have a rap sheet a mile long. Even just to the selfish day-to-day, having no empathy for a shopkeeper who has to feed his kids. Given 2 opportunities to not steal. I wasn't given that opportunity. I snuck into a movie. They kicked me out.
Oh, right.
And that was because I didn't want to pay for a Michael Moore film. So I paid for another one and I stuck into Michael Moore. I was kicked out immediately.
Anyways.
It's a principle.
That's fair.
How many grace crimes does one get before you say, you know what, okay, maybe we have a problem here in this community that people feel so fine take. We talk about Wall Street bankers, and we talk about capitalists and corporatists and people taking advantage of the middle class, and they don't care, and they show, well, you know what, okay, listen, and I understand that they're somewhat removed, and it's not violent, so these people don't get punished the way they should. Certainly banks, when we talk about the bailouts, I think that's criminal. But why are we not offended when a black guy does it to a shopkeeper who he knows on a day-to-day basis, where he just steals cigarettes? And let's be real. Why did he not do it? Why do you think George Floyd blew him? Because he's bigger and stronger and probably intimidated the guy.
Yeah.
Just like Mike Brown. Do you guys remember that? Knocked over a liquor store the day he stole the gun from Officer Wilson and hit him in the head with it? You seeing a pattern? You think Officer Wilson, who specifically asked to be in Ferguson so that he could have more interactions and help those underprivileged, there was not a racist bone in Darren Wilson's body. You think that guy's the problem? Or do you think the guy, Mike Brown, who that day committed a crime against other members of his community before violently assaulting an officer, is more indicative of the problem in this community? Or do you think it's the cop? Do you think that George Floyd, with a rap sheet a mile long and that day committed a crime taking money out of someone else's pocket, is a problem? Or do you think it's just when the cops show up? We need to be able to talk about these things. If you're going to make it all about race, CNN, MSNBC, and racist cops, if we want to have dialogues to improve everyone's community, guess what? It's not about the cops, and it's not about melanin. What are you about to say? What are you doing there?
I think the extreme division is certainly not the way to handle it.
I don't think the division is the way to but the problem is, there's no way around it now, because immediately before the body was cold, they were talking about
it's because
it's racist.
That's why Al Sharpton exists. I mean, that's why he's there. He's a racial ambulance chaser. It's why he showed up, and I'll just say it on this show. He's also a guy who hates Jewish people and has been very vocal about that, and that's perfectly acceptable.
Well, yeah.
But I just don't think it's about dividing everything in half, and that's the problem right now, is we want to just completely look at it as these black and white issues, and there's some serious issues. But we keep saying we want to have a conversation, we want to solve the problem. You can't solve this problem. You can't change people's opinions. You can't make everybody all think the same. It's an isolated incident that should be judged on an isolated incident.
Right.
And
Right.
personally,
But if you're going to talk about the pervasive problem, the systemic problem, it's a problem with crime and disregard for members in their community.
well, I think you also would have to add the underprivileged community, though. I mean, if you live in a poorer area, aren't you more likely to commit a crime?
Yeah, but here's the truth. Poor white people don't commit crimes against poor black people the way that poor black people do against, and poor white people don't commit crimes against other poor white people in the same rates.
Well, if you're talking about drugs, I think they commit plenty of crimes, though.
Well, they do drugs, but as far as robberies, as far as violent crime, as far as homicide, look, a black person in this country is far more likely.
Much you can steal.
That's true.
Be honest.
That's true. And that being said, you'd think there'd be more because you just need to punch through the wall and pull out whatever you grab.
Yeah,
but statistically, a black person in America is most likely to be killed by a black person, and a white person is likely to be killed by a black person. And this comes from, I think, right now, again, like we said, this ties back to the voting laws. Black people can't get ID. Well, hold on a second. Why don't it's free? Well, they don't know how to get there. Well, they can. We can have them do it online. Black people don't know how to get online. Black people don't know that bills are counterfeit. This is what the left does when you have the racism, the prejudice of low expectations. Black people don't know how to use birth control. They need Planned Parenthood. It's all predicated on this idea that people in these communities, meaning urban black communities, need the white liberal savior, and they need someone to fish for them every day, that they somehow can't be taught to fish. This is the issue that we keep running into. Black people can't go to the DMV. Black people can't get online to vote. Black people can't get into schools unless we give them affirmative action. Black people need more money. And by the way, black people can't get ahead if this is according to Black Lives Matter, if white families stay together and there's a nuclear family, so we have to do away with that too. This is where we've come. This is not at all the kind of racial justice that that Martin Luther King Jr. was talking about, that we were talking about in the 80s, 90s, early 2000s. It's not even the kind of justice that Barack Obama was talking about, by the way. To see how drastically times have changed, Barack Obama went into office opposing gay marriage and now believes that men should be playing in women's sports. Donald Trump is the only president who was for gay marriage when he became president and for gay marriage when he left the presidency. That's how rapidly these things change. And right now there is this pervasive racism from the left. And I truly mean this. It really does break my heart if a black person in the country today, someone watching, if you believe for a second what the left has told you, that you can't get ID and that you're too dumb to use the internet. That to me, that someone will, as veiled as they want it to be, and they label it under the guise of privilege, and it is so racist to me. And it robs people, by the way, when black people in this country are successful and have worked hard, it robs them of the satisfaction of knowing that they got ahead on their merits. And that's what bothers me about. We're not being honest about the problem. We are not being honest about the problem if we are not acknowledging that people like George Floyd, who go their entire life physically harming people, financially harming people, and emotionally harming people without repercussion. Look, I'm sorry, if I had robbed someone at gunpoint with a toddler there, I think they should lock me away. And if several times that day I had stolen, whether I knew or not, but was given the opportunity to make it right, that day from a local shopkeeper from the drugstore down the street, I would expect for people to think that I'm a piece of shit.
Well, and the narrative was that George Floyd was turning over a new leaf.
Yeah, that's not true.
Always the narrative, though.
Yeah.
I mean, that's if you watch Fruitvale Station or any movie that covers it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the reality. Is it's always I was trying to do good. I mean, that's simply not the case. But
same with Mike Brown. He was trying to do good that day. He had just shoved an old guy at a liquor store.
It's the narrative that they usually play out.
Yeah.
I mean,
again, none of this means that there wasn't a tragedy that took place.
Right.
None of this means
it doesn't take away that there's not a problem.
Right.
Well, but that's
and we're focusing on something that statistically is not a problem in comparison to what statistically is a verifiable, repeatable problem. You can see it just in this instance with George Floyd.
Yeah.
Who presents a greater risk to the streets of Minneapolis? The police force or George Floyd? George Floyd.
Here's what bothers me too is right now I'm looking at CNN and they're airing the commercials with the George Floyd killing still printed to the left of it.
Yeah.
With Flo from Progressive.
Yeah.
And someone gets Chauvin on her back?
I know, that's true. I think we all can agree.
That's terrible. Oh my god.
Oh, Flo.
Well, and not
I'd
only
like
that,
to
but
see
just-
some urine flow from her.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Ouch.
What?
Well, what do you mean?
that's-
What?
Cross
the line. What?
Why are you dressed this way?
I have no idea. They bring things in. I do what I'm told.
Officer?
No,
You're supposed to lean on his
kneel
neck.
on your neck.
Right.
Oh, you're going to lean on my neck?
Oh, don't do
At some
that.
point. I don't know when.
Please
was your
don't.
idea.
Yeah, I didn't know we were actually going to do it.
Do we want to do it like in a video for next time, or do we want to do it live today?
No, we can show. So look, we can show, but I'm probably going to go on your neck first and then show you how to.
No, don't do mine.
Well, yeah.
He's the cop.
I'm the cop.
Well, I know you're the cop, but you don't know how to. You don't know how to.
Turning the tables.
He's the cop.
All right. Okay.
Do you want to use Tokenawan because he's
No. You know what? And then Then after this, okay, since we have a break right now, I'm not going to lean on your neck, but I'll show you a basic control position that would be in wrestling, and you'll see how uncomfortable it is.
You can show me. You can show me on the cop there.
I'll show you on the cop.
We have a good like Blaze chat about
Okay.
that too. Clayton B was wondering. My question is on the training they have on this knee hold. How long do they hold it after control has been established? That's the only issue I see. Once he passed out, why would you stay on the guy? So you can probably give like a.
Yeah, that's a good. Well, first off, it's not a position with control. That's what I'm saying. So it's not a position with control at all. I don't know why they teach it to people.
Right.
I think maybe they teach it because if you have one knee on the neck and then one knee on their torso, it controls them better with two officers. But even then, there are still more effective ways to do it. Believe me when I say this, and sometimes police officers get mad and they get defensive. You cannot underestimate the ineptitude of police department training when it comes to physical restraints. It's less than rudimentary. And I don't think that one man should be hung from the gallows for a mistake that has been made repeatedly. And I know people love to buy these myths. Look, this is something where and I think now maybe it's more acceptable because we understand that the military, for example, is now a petri dish for social justice warrior ideology. But people used to think that if I said, hey, you know what, there are some myths that people attribute to special forces that aren't true. People are like, oh, yeah, no, they can kill you with their brand. No, look, we would have Navy SEALs, we would have Marines, we would have Special Forces, we would have Army Rangers. We would have take it from any branch that come into the school, which was an MMA school, and I just did Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and some basic boxing. They would get rolled up by blue belts. Why? Because they're not trained fighters.
Yeah.
They're trained with firearms. They're supposed to be trained in de-escalation. They're trained where if they have 5 people, they can use a taser. But that being said, because they get people through this training pretty quickly, they have to go to the tools in their belt, which are weapons. And that by itself escalates the situation. Most police officers out there today, I would say the vast majority, are not physically capable of restraining someone to the degree of a 9th grade high school wrestler.
Yeah, that's probably pretty accurate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
just a little
and small female officers are capable of restraining George Floyd? Never.
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah.
If George Floyd, if it was a small female officer who responded to George Floyd, she probably wouldn't be able to cuff him. Her only option is to tase or shoot.
Yeah. Well, and I think Tokenawan, what do you weigh? Say it on air.
185.
Say it on air.
Well, that's what
I would have thought
Chauvin weighs
315.
183.
I'm not good at
so
this.
So a very good comparison would be having him kneel on your neck instead of me, who I'm the size. I'm bigger than George Floyd.
Yeah.
Right. So it would be like having Tokenawan kneel on your neck.
All right, give me the mustache.
That's the weight, and he looks better in this. That's really
okay. All right, give Tokenawan the mustache and the thing.
I would look like the female cop.
So, if you want to demonstrate that,
like the female cop who shows up in the sitcom with the belt too high, like, all right, what's going on here?
Hey, it's Melissa McCarthy.
Yeah, it's Melissa McCarthy.
Yeah, one of the
You're on my feet.
This cop's completely inept. Why would you hire her?
And all of this too is being.
Oh, speaking of Al Sharpton, oh my God, they're doing the chain link thing. Please, someone turn this up.
For us to trust the system.
It's a ridiculous
and
tie
see
he's got
what
on.
Justice
He's really lost
ends
weight.
up coming out
It's an
of this.
ascot.
I know.
He's the kind of guy who should put some weight back on.
Yeah, he is.
It's like, ow. There's a level between, you and Little Nicky, you being pretty, portly, and Tom Hanks' Philadelphia. Split the difference.
Emaciated and obese.
Yeah.
There is a line in between.
Now he looks like the little bug that went ka-choo.
You just need a curvy Al Sharpton.
Al Sharpton is one of my least favorite people on the planet.
I think it's anybody who's you or Jewish. Again, I say because he called them roaches.
That's true. Well,
No,
Farrakhan,
he's
that,
a
they don't
race-baiting
again
huckster.
They don't care about the anti-Semitic attacks coming from people like Farrakhan and
No,
Al
of
Sharpton.
course
They
not.
want to claim that it's from the people in the Republican Party who support a strong alliance with Israel.
Yeah.
Just like with Asians, they don't want to acknowledge the fact that Asians have been getting screwed in admittance in colleges, like we've been talking about just at Stanford and Brown alone. We've done multiple stories on this. They don't want to talk about that. They want you to think that now it's the people who believe in a meritocracy who have been committing hate crimes against Asians. This is the divide and conquer, and I will say this: like I try and be a happy warrior as much as I can, but we don't have much longer going on with this right now. We don't have much longer going on with, it's not just racial division, because I will allow for the fact that sometimes solutions will be uncomfortable for people of any race, gender, creed. Sometimes everyone has to look at themselves and there's going to be division on solutions to the problem. I understand that. The issue is that we're starting out dishonestly. And that is happening all the time right now. That's why I'm so concerned. Look, do I care that I've been banned, that I've been suspended from Twitter? Not so much. What worries me is that I was suspended for simply pointing out that Twitter doesn't list reasons for suspension. Does it worry? Do I lose any money by the fact that our 1-year anniversary, 15 days to flatten the curve, was removed from YouTube? Nope. I don't believe it was monetized anyway. So it doesn't change my pocketbook one dime. Right. But it scares me. It scares me that YouTube says, hey, this show, using CDC guidelines, using the World Health Organization, using medical, everything was coming from You can go to louderwithcarter.com and see the sources listed for that show. Them saying, but we don't want this here because the solution needs to start from whatever Dr. Fauci says. Lockdowns. That's what worries me. We don't have that long going down this trail of starting off from a dishonest premise. Have they gone back now and they're calling witnesses? They're calling witnesses. Okay. Yeah. Who is this witness right here? And then you can lean on me afterwards there.
Can you tell the jurors what your occupation is?
I am a Minneapolis 911 dispatcher.
And so who is your employer?
City of Minneapolis.
And how long have you been doing that?
Almost 7 years.
Can you tell the jurors what kind of training goes into being a dispatcher?
We hang up on anyone named Karen.
We go through close to 2 years of training, starting with call taking, where citizens are calling 911 with their emergencies. Also speaking to non-emergencies and how we can direct those. We then work with police and fire on sending them their calls and prioritizing those.
Also, you put me on hold for 9 minutes playing Earth, Wind, and Fire last time I called in.
That was rude. I said I was being stabbed.
There's a rapist in my house. Please hold.
Couldn't help but dance.
This is gonna hurt.
Hey, the Edit Bay also found some footage of George Floyd from May 2019 in a very similar police stop that they're saying might be used by the defense.
Oh,
yeah.
Do we have it?
Yeah.
All right, let me watch. This is footage of George Floyd from May 2019. I'm seeing this for the first time because who was the other guy who we found I found that other pullover that no one had seen? Rayshard Brooks. Remember Rayshard Brooks? There was that other pullover where he was by the train tracks.
Yeah.
And I don't think anyone else still showed that.
No.
But this is now George Floyd, and we've confirmed that it is him for sure.
Yep.
George Floyd, 2019. Watching it for the first time with you.
On the dash. I'm not going to shoot you. Put your hands on the dash. Put your hands on the dash. The last time I'm going to tell you that. It's simple. He keeps moving his hands around. He won't listen to what I have to say.
Put your hands on top of your head.
Put them on your head.
Top of your head. Open your mouth. Spit out what you got. Spit out what you
Yeah, he had pills in this one too.
Okay. Hands are not on top of his head.
I want you to jerk away from me.
Put your hands behind your That was one yellow pill, boss.
Okay, now slowly come on out.
Hand on your
Put your
hand on your head.
Okay, relax then. You're not going to get beat up or nothing if you just follow what we're asking you to do.
I apologize to him, man. I apologize, man. I apologize.
So it's kind of his go-to is don't shoot me, and okay, but not doing what they ask.
Behavior and
Now look, people go, well, he was just putting a pill in his mouth. Sure, could have been reaching for a gun. He was obviously trying to put a pill in his mouth so there wasn't the evidence. That's most likely what was happening.
Yeah.
But if someone says put your hands in the dash and you don't, they can't see where your hands are.
Yeah. If you're in a high crime neighborhood and you're a police officer that works there and knows that it's difficult.
It's a guy clearly with a history, if they run his plates, with no problem using firearms against his fellow citizens.
Yeah.
He has.
How old was George Floyd? 46?
I don't know.
I know he was in his 40s.
Okay.
Yeah, when he died, he was 46.
When he died, he was 46.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was 2019, so it probably would have been 44.
No, when he died, he was 46.
5 to
I thought he
6.
said.
So 45. But that pullover, I'm saying he would have been 40.
Oh, I gotcha.
And then in another room, you'll have your fire dispatchers to give them.
Who
some
am I correcting?
silence so they can work around that and be on the radio and listen to the firefighters. Across the room, you will have our Channel 7 that is closely located to our dispatch group, which is approximately 4 people.
So this is the
I will
state,
say this:
right?
the lawyer here on the left, he has a mouth like when you're looking up at a hammerhead shark.
I mean, there's a chance,
layout
though,
of our
that he was tuned up by cops a few times, which could lead him to having this reaction later in life.
Yeah.
Sure.
It gives them
Sure.
the ability
Again,
to-
that's not saying the cop's responsible.
someone's hard.
No, I'm sure he can be, but
it could help explain his behavior, yes. But more likely, he's a criminal who doesn't want to go to jail.
Well, I think that's any drug addict,
Yeah.
really. I mean, and are they criminals? Are they sick? I mean, usually hand in hand.
well, hold on. Let's also be really
I
clear. There's a difference
understand
between being
that,
a drug addict and being a serial violent offender, which George Floyd.
Yes, there is. Absolutely.
I agree.
We are not doing the same.
Which, hey, let me ask you just one quick question.
I wasn't trying to say.
No. I know you weren't. And I think it's good that you're here asking these
Damn
questions
you,
because I
Dave.
think this is,
Yeah.
listen, this is an emotionally charged issue.
I just
and
have
people need to
questions.
understand. He's like Jesse Ventura. I'm just asking.
I'm
What are you
just saying.
suggesting, Jesse?
I don't know. Was George W. Bush outside Tower 7 with an Acme plunger before it went down? I'm just asking the facts.
I saw Dan Quayle put dynamite into Tower 1.
You would know that, too, if you weren't so busy asking about which Kardashian's ass is most fat, because you're not asking about the facts.
It's Kim.
Do you think Bob Kardashian's just looking up from hell like they're all getting banged by athletes?
Those are my girls.
So proud.
Here's my question too. This is something I was just wondering the other day because, and I agree that the war on drugs is largely a failure. But what I have always said is,
Yes.
look, if you just legalize all drugs, which sometimes is a solution, I go, you really think that the drug cartels are going to straighten up and fly right? Like, oh, I'm going to start doing turbo taxes. Like, what do you think is going to happen? But what's so funny to me is they go, well, the war on drugs. You see many people on the left say that we need to legalize all drugs. Was it Portland who just did it? Portland or Seattle? Or Oregon? There was some
Oregon,
place that
yeah.
just legalized all drugs.
Or
Wasn't it Washington?
It was, Denver, I think, right? Was
No,
it
it wasn't.
Was it Colorado? where
No,
they
it was
legalized
somewhere
mushrooms?
in the.
I believe it was a city in Washington.
I believe it was
or
a city in
Oregon.
Washington, or decriminalized. Maybe not legalized.
Yeah.
Sorry, decriminalized.
Yeah, but it was
all,
everything was decriminalized.
including like black tar heroin.
Yes.
Which I'm not gonna lie, I don't really know the difference between I don't know the difference between black tar heroin and heroin regular.
They're both.
But
Dave's like, well, actually.
I've only done one kind.
They're
Yeah.
top
Okay, but,
notch.
It was pretty
But here's
good.
my question:
Won't lie.
people who are against the drug war, they go, it's failed because look, you just put money in the hands of drug cartels. Then they also want to ban semi-automatic firearms. Do you have any idea how much money there will be to be made in gun running?
Looks like it was
With
the
the
entire state of Oregon, too, by the way.
Oh, wow.
I was
okay,
right.
Oh, shocking.
I was right.
Well, of course they're just going to go to another illegal activity.
Well, I know, but it's just ironic to me when people go, well, we need to legalize all drugs because the drug war, and you're putting the money in the hands. Look, there are 3 ways that drug cartels, that these illegal criminal operations where they make money, okay? Drugs, guns, prostitution.
Human trafficking, really.
Yeah, human trafficking.
Yeah.
So if you legalize all drugs, they're just going to traffic more people. And then if you make guns illegal, well, you've actually just added a profit margin.
Well, you've also now you have free range to take the drugs that break those prostitutes. And yeah, I shouldn't be grinning, but you know.
No, I know what you're saying. It's a valid point.
Laughter.
You shouldn't have a smile on your face, Dave.
Yeah, you
That's serious.
That's because
Coked out
he spent a
whores?
lot of the time in the bathroom.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hey, Dave, so
Takes a while to wait.
I do have a question for you, though.
Chuck Berry room.
I think you have a good perspective on this, but knowing what you know now.
About dope?
No, about this trial, right? Because I think a lot of people, they just saw the hype for this, right? They just saw like the media hype and hysteria over what was going on. But knowing what you know now, having seen the entire video, having some context to it, do you think it's now okay to go down and burned the Walgreens down, or maybe that was an overreach.
Oh, I didn't think that was okay.
I know you
before.
didn't. I'm being sarcastic on that. But like, this was the basis for the riots during, by the way, something that we were all supposed to be so afraid of that we couldn't go outside. COVID. We had a spike right after the riots, but obviously it wasn't because of COVID.
No.
And we had property damage around the country, people's lives ruined, people's lives destroyed, killed, all because of this. This is what started it.
This was a breath of fresh air to people that were angry and were locked up. I mean, this was all a result of one thing leading to another. I mean, COVID was something that was used, in my personal opinion, simply to get Trump out of office and demonize him, which then led to this, which further demonized him, saying it was his America. And I wasn't even this diehard fan of Trump, but if anybody fails to see that, this is all a result of cause and effect.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the reality, is we wanted to play this game of white supremacy that, and I'm not saying that that doesn't exist to some degree in the world or hasn't ever.
Right.
No.
But that doesn't, but the idea that everything should be riding on this, and the fact that our country and our future is riding on this, and more people's businesses, that's the part that I don't understand either. The white rioters going into black neighborhoods and burning down their community. It makes no sense to me.
Well, it's Antifa. They fight fascism with fascism.
Yes, yeah. They fight old women until their big sons walk up
They're
and then they run.
Molotov cocktailing their truth.
Yeah, that's true. And I also like the word "my truth" because it means it's a lie. But that's
Right.
Such a cute way of putting that.
Yeah.
But I do think it's disturbing what's ended up happening, and you've watched how, because you needed an excuse.
Yeah.
If you lock people up, take away their jobs. I mean, look at George Floyd, even, for example. He had no money. He had a counterfeit bill, whether he knew it or not, which he got because of a collapsed economy and losing his job. The guy was probably pissed off. Went to get a pack of cigarettes. Wasn't going to give him back.
A job.
That's what it said.
That's what they said.
Yeah. But
so going off every bit of evidence we saw, he had just lost a job. So he lost a job because if he was a nightclub bouncer, he did. I mean, no doubt.
I thought that he hadn't worked at that club in a while, but
well, at least that's the excuse was given that he lost it.
He did lose a job.
Okay.
Yeah. So maybe he didn't want to give the cigarettes back. He was like, "Well, fuck you. I have nothing. I'm pissed off."
Yeah.
You know, I'm not saying that gives an excuse, but but when you've been locked up and detained and you've been in prison, then you're out and you've been locked up and detained again by the government for reasons you don't understand, and you're a drug addict, it's a powder keg.
Yeah.
And it proved it because the whole country burned.
Right.
Yeah.
So this sucks. I mean, this is.
But I think it's important to note that everyone was locked up.
I agree.
Everyone, and only one half burned the country.
That's right.
We need to be clear about that. That's where people say, well, it's left and right. No. You have one example long after the country burned to the tune of $2 billion with 200 people out of several hundred thousand at the Capitol. But one side of this country burned it down, and one party encouraged it.
Yeah.
Kamala Harris, vice president, saying, well, they shouldn't stop. Get used to it. This is the new normal, and they shouldn't stop rioting. I don't know how Donald Trump is guilty of inciting violence and Kamala Harris isn't. Right. I don't know how all the staffers who smoked weed have been fired and Kamala Harris is still VP. So I'm still figuring out some of this.
It's not fair.
It's great, though, because we have higher gas prices. They now want to charge you per mileage that you're driving.
Right.
They're firing people for weed. So you guys voted in the right team.
Yes,
yeah,
Good job. Enjoy being poor again.
How's that vote working out for you?
And enjoy the international community going, Biden's in okay, we can do whatever we want.
Yeah, we can do whatever we want.
You know, like they are now, where they're like, we're not even going to talk to him. We might bomb you. I don't know.
I don't know. Biden, I haven't made up my mind yet. Yeah, do the Roman candle, that one.
No, it's infuriating because we have all these cameras and eyes on things in the public, and it hasn't done us a service.
No, it hasn't done us a service because people like Al Sharpton rushed to the scene to say it was systemic.
Well, here's the thing. It used to be Al Sharpton. He was a joke. But guess what? He's no different from Elizabeth Warren, Joe Biden, Kamala Harris right now. Al Sharpton is less radical than everyone in the DNC. Think about that for a second right now. People in office right now are tarring and feathering everybody who are police officers. They're saying defund the police. They're saying we have systemic discrimination. We know statistically, verifiably, it's not true. The issue here is, just like with COVID, starting off with a lie.
Yeah.
It started off with 2.4 million dead, the Imperial College study of one, and silencing anyone who said, and they're still silencing. Because we're nowhere near that number, by the way, and YouTube removed our entire episode on that. So it started with the lie. We're going to have 2.4 million dead unless we do 15 days to flatten the curve.
Yeah. Well,
that was a lie. And now the lie, we need to defund the police because they're shooting black men in record numbers. That's a lie.
Yeah.
That is a lie. What is not a lie is that George Floyd, the way he lived his life, does not mean he deserved to die, is far more indicative of the statistical problem that the black community has to deal with on a daily basis. 37 times the violent crime rate.
Yeah.
That doesn't even include counterfeit bill and having no empathy for the guy who needs to feed his kids at the was it cup food supply?
Foods, right? Well, and that CNN used to say, Jake Tapper said the big lie was when Donald Trump said the election was stolen, and that is what is responsible for the January 6th riots on the Capitol, right? The insurrection, the big lie, right? This is hearkening back to Germany in a very bad period of time. He pulled that comment out. The big lie has been telling this country for the last year that if you're black, that police are going to shoot you randomly. And that led to violence. That led to people's lives being lost. Why is there no accountability for them? Why is there no accountability for those guys who are saying, hey, if you go out and lie in public, Donald Trump, and you tell people this election was stolen and they go and take over the Capitol, it's your fault. Jake Tapper, you said that this country was systemically racist. People went out, they rioted, people's lives were lost. Is that not your fault?
Also, why the fuck does Vermont not have a $15 minimum wage, Bernie?
That's true.
Come on.
I was just thinking about this the other day.
there.
I'm sorry, but I was sitting there. It's like, what is it? Can someone look it up? I think in Vermont it's like $11.50. I remember I read it and I thought that must be a misprint.
Cheaper housings, they don't have to pay as much.
You got to work 10 hours to go see fish.
I'm just kidding.
No, you are right, though. I mean,
it's like, oh, well, 15 an hour. You first.
The insurrection, so stupid.
It's not. I mean, the
guy in the woolly, the woolly mammoth. Was it
1078? Are we sure?
1078, and then it moved to 1175.
1175. Commonly referred to as Bernie's tip on a $400 tab.
The soup was cold.
There was glass in my soup, sir. I saw you take the broken glass out of your suit pocket and sprinkle it in there. I'm old.
What? We watched you
still
put
in there.
dead
I
flies.
was confused.
Why didn't you eat some of it before putting in the glass? I don't know anymore.
I wasn't committed to the role.
At this point, it's really more for the thrill.
I want you to have an equal amount of glass in your soup as I have in my soup.
Equal.
Take some glass from you, put it in mine.
By the way, did you know that if I throw a baseball out the window, the glass will only go out the window? If you throw it in, that's how they catch criminals. Have you been reading more Sherlock Holmes, pick your own path books? They're intriguing. I use it as a palate cleanse from Marx and Lenin.
Marty, we got to go back to 1985.
Oh my gosh! I am just honestly that the fact that this is that right now people are tuning in. You know what? This is the inverse of what happened with Clarence Thomas, and that's what turned Andrew Breitbart into a conservative. There were people who tune in thinking this guy's a monster, and really what equated to I think some people referred to it as a modern day lynching, and you should have seen Joe Biden when he was sitting there talking. And then people realized this is character assassination. That was sort of the first time it happened. They tried to claim that he was a regular at a porno shop, which it couldn't have even been. But it shouldn't even matter. The fact that Clarence Thomas made a joke about a pubic hair on a Diet Coke can shouldn't matter if he had gone to a seedy video rental store, right? But this is what happened back then. We're going to make sure we have a trial and it's going to be racially based. That's what happened on the flip side. Same thing with OJ. It's just not true. And it also isn't something that most black Americans feel. They may feel that sometimes there's racial profiling because of this almost race war that the media is trying to incite at this point. But most black Americans, statistically, we can bring that up, but want at least as much of a police presence as there is now, or more. They don't want to defund the police. Yeah. They don't. Different from the Van Jones, the talking heads on CNN. They don't want that. They don't want bad police in the street, and neither do I.
Neither does anybody. Well, and I was very just anti-cop in general at one point in my life, and I'm not obviously anymore. But I worked at a luggage store in downtown Detroit, which we had pretty much an all-black clientele, and I do remember having conversations with older black people where they were just like, oh, yeah, well, you don't want them now, but if you're in trouble, all of a sudden you're going to want them. And, I mean, they felt the same way in their community. It's the same as there was an old woman who used to wash dishes at this War Memorial is what it was called that I worked at, and you drive her home, and you get to her street, and her street was burnt out, but her house was immaculate.
Yeah, you get that. Was she like Polish or something? You have some of these.
No,
old, like,
she was a black woman. And she would get out every night and she would pick up the trash that was left on her lawn just while she was at work. She couldn't afford to get out of that neighborhood.
Right. Yeah.
There are people that do definitely care about that and do want more of a police.
You find that in Detroit, and a lot of times you'll find like some old Polish guys who can't afford to get out. They're on retirement.
Oh, in Hamtramck for sure.
Yeah. Well, even in Detroit, downtown Detroit.
Yeah, you do.
Grand
Yeah,
Torino,
yeah.
But yeah, you will see
Gran
this in
Torino,
Detroit.
but they replaced black people with Hmong, and we were all supposed to believe there was any in Detroit.
No, but you see this in Detroit too, where you will find burned down building, crack house, or meth den. I don't really know.
Or just squatter, destroyed.
Nothing. And then you will see a yard that is immaculate. That looks like, something out of a World War II movie. We're like, and once we came home, the victors, look at the Allies. They go into the white picket fence. But you will see it next to what looks like a war zone. And that's just because, and it's just a perfect example of, even in the worst scenario, you can respect your stuff.
Yeah. Well, and they have the auto guns from Congo set up around, so
it's true.
That's true.
Makes it much easier to deal with.
Lot of booby traps.
Back there,
which is also a strip club on 8 Mile.
And white gorillas with lasers.
Yes.
Everybody deserves a hot meal.
Yes. Well,
I'm conflating.
Part of it is pride of ownership. Like I said, she was a dishwasher. There's something about when you work for something and it's not handed to you, and I think that goes for anything. Free comedy club tickets, a car that might be given to you, anything. If you don't have to work for something, you just, for some reason, a lot of human nature is just to not take care of it.
Yeah.
When you've worked hard through your entire life to afford this house, wherever it's at, if it's something you love, you see people take care of that because they put value in their work and their effort.
If you buy a house in Detroit right now, people, it's a punchline, but you worked hard for the $6 to procure it.
That's true.
Exactly. You waited in line at an auction of 2 people that had $4.
Yes.
You gave up a latte.
You traded that Ponderosa coupon.
You traded up, sir. Good job.
Is Ponderosa still around?
I don't think so.
Is the owner's name Joe Ponderosa?
Joe Ponderosa. All right, sorry, let's go. I think we're missing the test. I apologize. This was boring.
It's a dispatch lady. I mean, not that she's not important, but what is she going to say? Yes, I dispatched the police.
They're saying the guy's line of questioning seems completely aimless so far, just asking about precinct names and dispatch codes. So
that's what I feel like we're missing anything.
She has a lanyard.
Sorry. Look,
I thought that and she has a stick behind her there. Why does she have a stick, like a pointer stick, a metal stick?
It's 6 feet distance stick.
Is that what it is?
I don't know.
6 feet? I have no idea.
Would you be shocked?
It sounds like now they are getting to the Floyd dispatch now.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Let's go.
Let's see track of what it does.
Yes.
And have you on prior occasions?
How hilarious would it be if she just sneezed and it just
recall what happened during a call?
Do y'all have a squeegee?
It went down like gack.
Even sometimes during your shift.
Or they cut to their side and the guy's making sandwiches.
Multiple screens that you have if you wanted to.
Yes, everything looks different. It would take a lot of explaining, but yes, we see all of this
Isn't that why you're a witness?
Then I would offer exhibit 151.
Well, if we have to go over this, it's going to be a long day, hon.
Oh, you want me to explain? Oh.
Well, how's he gonna?
Trials are boring.
How's he gonna whisper a racist stuff in his client's ear? With the glass there.
You're right.
He doesn't take into account rebound.
Oh, this isn't ghost.
Colored.
Oh, geez, son of a. I told you he doesn't look like Jesus Christ.
You just have a bunch of black Hebrew Israelites right now walk with burlap sacks. All these letters to Jesus Christ. Those who are into theology.
Right. Or Greg Kinnear movies.
That too.
What was that? Letters to Santa or something?
Yeah.
151 is received.
They're drinking?
She
is. Sorry.
I'm going to ask for 151 to be put up on the screen so we can all see it.
And we're going to light it. We're all going to do a shot.
Starting here.
We all need it.
It's the first page of this document. And I'll represent to you that we have not included the entire document, right? This is just a portion.
Well, thank goodness for that.
Correct?
Correct.
So what I'm going to ask you to do here with the first line is tell us, run us through that first line and tell us the information on that very top line.
The first line is from the call taker. It is a query of the plate that's in the call, and then
First line is
we use a lot of
Mike
abbreviations
Lindell showing where the votes went to.
She just called that lawyer query.
provided
way to
Well,
start out.
you should know your query.
You should know query. Are you talking about my turtle mask?
320 SUV license plate.
That's what my wife called it this morning.
Okay, so what I'm going to do
Nice
is I'm going
mask
to
query.
blown up a little bit so it's easier for everybody to read along with you. And,
That's a read along.
At least the first couple lines, just so that it's bigger for us all to see. So the first column on the left, self-explanatory, that's the date.
Correct.
Do you like
And
when it
then
gets
the
bigger?
time, also probably self-explanatory. What does user mean?
User would be how you identify different persons involved. This person, you can tell, is a call taker. It's the first two letters there, and then it has their ID number. We all have our own ID numbers.
And so what's your ID number?
Mine is 123096.
And your phone number?
Yes.
This first
7 digits.
Hobbies? White or red?
Yeah.
that number.
Both. You like a steak? You into vegetarian? What do you like?
And how do you know that?
How do you know that?
It's given to our certain, everybody has their own specific
That's weird.
one. If I needed to query
Hey.
that to find out who it was, it would tell me who their name is. But I also know that
What
that's
their
a
name
call
is?
taker based off
Sorry.
of the
And
first two
Miss Scurry, are you wearing panties?
Oh, jeez.
Type, what does
I think that's inappropriate. This is common legal, but I don't want to bother you with the
Just
legalese.
questions. It's really pro forma.
This is legal jargon. You need not bother yourself with.
I want to get all the facts.
Don't worry about it. May I smell your chair? Just want to make sure there's no COVID. I've got a
Just smell her hair and just be a Biden, okay?
I've got a bloodhound nose. for
Kindly,
these things.
kindly remove your lanyard. I'm going to dust for prints.
They say she's a little dim, but them titties ain't.
Hey,
David
hey,
Tell.
stop it.
David Tell. My
Hey.
favorite bits.
And then just on 38th Street, it's providing the information of where. We try to be as clear as possible and paint a picture. So
Many
I'll try
viewers
on
were
38th
thinking
Street
it.
reporting that there's provided.
It's true, though.
Degenerates.
Shut up.
So is this the information that the call
It's a
taker
lady.
provided to you to make the dispatch to officers?
Yes.
And as part of this process, does that information also go
Can
to
we have
the
someone
officers
bring up a picture
in writing?
of a hammerhead shark
Yes, all
from
of
underneath? Because his mouth
A
is
little
like.
bit, yeah.
It really is just. He's very Muppety.
Correct.
Yes.
Where he's like Beaker.
And we see that there's a
She's
description
like, I
of the
don't know.
vehicle,
I don't understand you,
blue
Beaker.
Mercedes,
Yes.
and then there's an address.
What a boring trial.
Yes.
I know,
That
right?
is
Law is
query.
totally
they said
not
they
like
were-
on TV.
I
Yeah, it's
know.
totally not. Someone get Nancy Grace to scream about a missing child.
Yeah, that's what we need.
Sometimes
I do this for you.
By the way, the third line there, the third line is actually important. It says suspected of being under the influence, I think, or appears this person is under the influence. And that was shared with all the officers before they got there, so they knew that going in.
Now, is your response here of, correct?
And do you spell that with 3 or 4 M?
How do you do that?
Could you show us how you did it?
Do you mind if I loosen my tie? It's getting hot in here.
So then,
Feel free to loosen yours. Oh, you're not wearing one. Well, feel free to loosen whatever it is that you wear.
Yeah, whatever.
There's a chemistry going on.
certain questions
So
that we
terrible.
ask, and there were no screening questions asked based
You're
on
gonna have to do something to pass the
Just
time,
in the middle,
guys. I understand.
he's writing.
the person they're calling.
How's your back?
So the caller
Yes.
they're not
You know, there's a Motel 6 not far from here, and I only need 15 minutes of recess. 6 minutes with you.
Well, you know what, attorney, I don't think I'm comfortable with that. Well, I'll tell you what. I'll just leave the key here, and I'll leave the light on for
Yeah,
you.
here you go. Oh, I seem to have left my motel room key right here.
Look at that. Just under the glass, you just see.
Yeah. Sir, what is that? It's not a Marriott key.
Nothing.
What a Marriott key? Who am I, a Rockefeller? It's Motel 6.
We could both look out the window while it happens at the protesters.
I originally dispatched this to 3:30.
Let's get a third floor room so we can feel better than this.
Yeah.
Look down at the plebes.
I want to make sure I have this right. So this is Matthew Frank. This is the prosecutor that's talking right now.
Yeah.
And then,
Is that his lanyard? Is that real? Sorry. It's him.
This is the mouth. Look at it. It's little. By the way, hammerhead sharks are really unpredictable. Sometimes they're fine, you can swim, touch them, and sometimes they just thrash you.
Yep.
So I think we should make them all extinct.
That's right.
And prior to coming to court, did you have an opportunity to listen to a copy of that call?
Did you have an opportunity to get lunch, or should we?
I've got a rezo at Wendy's.
Not that Wendy's.
The next
like
exhibit,
Wendy's.
he's mirroring his phone with the exhibits, and they just see him dialing Panera.
Yeah. Pardon me, Your Honor. I'm placing my order.
Now, for example, D, double D. Wow, you and this page have a lot in common.
Is this Dave's terrible pickup lines?
Yes, completely. Yeah. What does the tag on your lanyard say? Made in heaven? No, it says George Floyd trial.
Oh,
I thought it said made in heaven.
He has been referred to as Jesus Christ.
On 38, they are reporting
this
that
is the
there's a
call.
person who used a counterfeit bill at the business. Suspect is a black male, 6 foot 4 taller, sitting.
Oh, why'd you stop? Why would you stop?
I apologize, Your Honor. The call was made using Vonage.
They were already kind of defunded. Everything's Cricket Wireless inside the precinct.
Travis Barker, those commercials really got me. Now, what did he do? He did Amped Mobile? There's like Boost Mobile? I don't know.
I think he had technical difficulties there.
Boy, they're having more technical difficulties than this show on the outset.
Crazy.
Yeah. Can we play it?
Still
Can
trying
we?
to get that clip.
I'm on national television, guys. Somebody.
Please, my shark mouth is going to be noticed anytime.
Too many people looking.
I don't like eyes on me.
I can only obfuscate it if I keep moving.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Your Honor. The part where she said it looks like he's under the influence of a controlled substance has been deleted.
Do you know a lot about somebody who's under the influence of a controlled substance, ma'am?
Yes, I do.
Because I'm under the influence of loving you.
Ooh. The love drug.
I wear magnums, bitch.
You passed along essentially the same.
So forward.
I wouldn't earn it.
Sometimes you just gotta go fishing with dynamite.
Nuclear option.
Oh, you got to do what you got to do.
Is he walking off again? It's like Joe Biden.
It's like Joe Biden.
What?
He's not even putting a mask on. He's just all willy-nilly about it.
What is happening?
Him with his turtle shell ashtray mask.
Yeah.
Reporting dispatch to the police who responded to the scene. That little glitch in
By the way, that mask is useless. He just fondled it.
Yeah.
In the case. He spoke to the people in the courtroom beforehand saying that they would have.
Why does John King look like he just woke up from a nap?
Right, Dave.
See the judge.
He looks like he looks like he just had his face stuffed in Anderson Cooper's.
I love how he's giving us the play-by-play of what's happening in the courtroom, and now the judge.
All
on
I
the
see
phone.
is
He's got his
Ted
hand
Knight.
on his mouth. Right now, there is a technical issue. We are getting more information. I know. Hold. Stay with us.
Is that frozen
Oh,
the
the
feed, or is that
humanity.
judge just really still?
No, he's very still. Yeah.
He's very still. The blue thing
to
on
avoid predators.
This is not uncommon for you to have this sort of procedural machinations process,
He
right?
saw the hammerhead hard mouth and went,
that blue thing.
He's coming closer.
What are you doing? He'll think I'm a sea anemone.
I'm just floating along.
I don't know if you noticed, that blue thing on his desk also sticks to a shower wall.
Where is she? She's in Denver or something?
DC, it says.
No, I don't know.
Wait, she's in front of a ski lodge in an
Yeah, I was going to
80s
say,
movie?
I'm here at the Ski In Cafe, Ski In Ski Out Cafe, and I know about as much as you, Mr. King.
I'll be honest, I heard about this trial, and I want to be where people ski, if you get my drift.
Yeah.
The first thing that records is actually not your voice. That's just an electronic voice marking the time of the call.
Correct.
All right, so we'll try Exhibit 10 again.
What's going on with the mug there?
I thought I just broke
So
the handle.
racist, Dave.
What? She's back.
What? Racist? He likes her tits.
Yes, you can't be racist and like tits.
3:30, as you could start as the only available out of your sector to Cup Foods on Chicago, 3759 Chicago. On 38, they are reporting that there's a person who used a counterfeit bill at the business.
Why does their 911 logo, their 911 outline on their shirt look like a Six Flags logo?
It's
like
That's actually a Gibbons family reunion jacket. That looks like balloons.
320, could you put this call in pending priority 9? We can take that forgery. Copy, 30 option, clear. Copy, cancel times 20.
If I knew I was end up on trial, I would have been a little more peppy that day.
The officers on the street, correct?
Correct.
All right. So I'm going to back up and run through this a little bit.
Yeah, could you back that up and run us through it?
Oh, no.
Stop it.
So you will find out once you back the thing up. Do you like Ja Rule?
And you initially called this out to 3:30, correct?
Correct.
Do you recall who was working in 3:30 that day?
I don't specifically know.
Well, interesting,
And
because
so
I
you start your
actually have an
shift.
answer. It seems that you were working it.
Yes.
After that,
It wasn't just at 3:30. It looks like this is 24/7. Impressive.
and what does that
How do you do it?
It means they acknowledge that they've been given a call.
And subsequent to that, there was a call from 3:20, correct?
Yes.
You heard the
And
tape.
What was the substance of that call?
Again,
They said
you
they
heard
would
the
take
tape. What the hell?
So, based on what
Do
you
I
knew
look
about
handsome to you? I went to
trying be
Great
busy,
Clips.
What did you take from that exchange?
I don't feel it was great. It was good.
I mean, I'm not upset about my hair, but it's not the best it's ever looked.
Yeah.
You know, usually I'm a supercuts guy.
Yeah, they were booked up.
Also mentioned pending priority.
I called. They said I got a trial to do, and
That means that I
nothing.
can clear them from their call. Sometimes I will clear a squad.
I bet you
whichever
clear a
reason,
squad.
If it's report, advised, sent, there's a multitude of different reasons. And I instead just put it back in pending so they can pick it up later to finish whatever.
But here's
they
the
need to
problem.
do.
This is Dave as a juror as well, making these jokes in his head.
Yeah, it's a good thing I'm not a
Yeah, it's a good thing I'm not a jury either. I'd be like, that hammerhead's trying to bang that witness.
Yeah. And then he's going to eat the turtle.
That's in my dissenting opinion.
Yeah.
When it's a hung jury, it's like, I did not think the hammerhead did a very good job.
Yeah, this guy doesn't take any of this seriously, and he keeps ordering more expensive lunches. Come on, guys, we can get Red Lobster in here.
At some point,
You know what
did
I'm talking about.
Huh?
Cheesy
Right,
rolls.
witness?
Say, do you like Red Lobster?
The initial one, no.
But did you eventually?
Yes.
All right. So if we can go back
She's
to
just like,
151, please.
Of course I love Red Lobster.
It's my favorite. But it's not my birthday. Why would you bring me there?
I celebrate their entire menu.
Yes.
Yes.
I love lobster season, shrimp season. I celebrate their entire seasonal catalog.
It's all good. I don't even know how it makes sense that there's a season for an animal.
These are the actions that I did.
This is why trials take forever. Where is he
back
going with
the
any of this?
Nowhere.
How does this matter?
With 3:30
Can you just be like, yeah, is this you? Is this what you said? Here's the tape. All right, that's the evidence. Next.
I think it's just because lawyers get paid by the hour.
I think that's
Just
true. And he's on
dragging
TV.
it
I'm
on.
not kidding. This trial is on TV everywhere right now, and they know that. Yeah,
It's
right? I'm
either
not saying the
this
witness,
or
but-
William Shatner reading the name of your firm.
Yeah.
It's this. I mean, hopefully they're building the case.
Oh, this is the state prosecutors, though, right? So these are the people.
I know, but I'm hoping that they're going. They're going to build
Yeah.
it to something interesting.
No, but I mean, were you the dispatch? Yes. Did you send them people? Yes. I could have covered this 30 seconds.
Did the plate say it was George Floyd? Yeah.
Yeah.
Did they say they thought he was on drugs? Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, next.
Next.
John.
So it's the
What's your Netflix password?
Yeah.
Is that what he asked?
That's what I thought it said too. Why would you ask that?
Would you like to chill? Yeah, I do.
Do you work the night shift or when do you? What's your biological? What's your circadian rhythm like?
What's the policy on personal 911 calls?
Is this a banana in my pocket? My pants are about to peel.
One of those call logs is just him, the transcript. What are you wearing?
Sir, are you reporting a crime? Not yet.
No, but there's gonna be. Because if that ass don't get tapped, it should be illegal.
At the very least, gross injustice of the system.
Systematic issues. Oh, man.
If I don't get next to that thing, there is no justice.
And we'll make fun of the men, too. Just
I'm going to throw on a lobster bib, but the thing I'm going to eat won't be dinner.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying?
No, what are you talking about?
Means you going to go down on you.
Oh, well, that I should never have asked.
Let's give him a ding for that.
I'm just good at it. It's going to be a mess, is my point.
I think we're going to need to go live to tape with Dave.
By the way, my system...
All his shots are pre-taped.
I'm in a different outfit every time you cut to me.
Great thoughts, David.
That's good.
Very good.
Didn't he die 3 years ago?
Still using them.
We get his reactions. Those are really good.
Just tape 12 things of me and have me killed.
I'm trying to see what we've got. Oh, we've got the prosecutors.
I guess theoretically, when you signed your contract, it's in perpetuity. We can.
It is. You could do really whatever.
Yeah, I mean, every once in a while, what do you think, Dave? And, you know.
You pretty much just need me to make an incest joke and a 9/11 joke, and you can just put it on a loop.
How long are they going to do this?
Way
They're
too
going
long.
through line by line. Well, what does this mean? Well, what does this mean?
What does this mean?
What does this mean?
Could somebody turn up the air conditioning in here?
I'm waiting for it to get to 57. Hold, please.
Move to the next page.
What a boring.
So we can see it. And actually,
I have watched Law and Order and never seen anything like
this. Is nothing like the movies.
I hope he's found guilty just because I have to sit through this.
Oh, now they're doing a juxtaposition. There's more.
Oh, okay. Let's see what it says.
See that?
Yes.
And can you describe what's listed there? What that line is about?
I believe I heard EMS code 2 for a mouth injury requested by the squad.
And so that's 320 calling in for that, correct?
Correct.
And so code 2, you told us earlier, means what?
Non-emergent.
And then describe for us then what's depicted in the next line at 2021-35.
Squad 330 requested EMS code 3.
So this is now
upgrade.
330 upgrading the call to code 3. Is that yes?
Yes.
And so they're
look at
asking
that! You
for
got a
the
pretty
ambulance
smile.
to come quicker.
Mouth really tells the
And
story.
just to be clear, when we talk about EMS, we might think of that as an ambulance, right?
Correct.
All right. And then the next line at 2027.
You should smile more.
21.
You look good doing
For
it.
the jurors, what's depicted?
Your smile makes me
It
smile.
was information for the paramedics that police had the male restrained on the
Speaking
ground.
of emergent, I'm about
And
to
instantly,
emerge
are
from
you
my
able to tell,
slacks.
who called that
My
in?
pants have just been upgraded to an EM3.
Also, I have a mouth injury I'd need you to check out. Do my tonsils look swollen?
Are you trained in mouth-to-mouth resuscitation?
No.
Next line down at 20.
No, I'm not.
Don't need to involve the paramedics.
I gotta hit an ATM, and I ain't talking about the bank. You know what I'm saying? You.
But I'm flexible. I can do the back of the car or the ground.
Oh, no.
Number. So the
I
long
might
number-
look old, but I am stunningly flexible. I'm like a little Asian girl gymnast, but I'm an old white man.
So we're adding additional agency to that.
Now explain why, like, is EMS different than fire?
Yes.
How so?
One's a fire.
EMS, we have
One is EMS and one is fire, jackass.
EMS companies we work with, North and then Hennepin County, Hennepin EMS. And this is them writing in here, adding the additional fire. Fire is clearly firefighters, but they are medically trained. They can be
Speaking of which,
anywhere
I
in the
went
city
shopping at Men's
close
Warehouse.
to-
Would you say this outfit is quote unquote fire?
I was told I was gonna like the way I look. Do you like the way I look? Sure, it's a little expensive, but I got that kind of coin.
It really is the only that matters. You're the expert witness.
Rate this is the paramedic rig. 412 EMS is now located at Park.
Can you believe I got 2 suits for $100?
How about these shirts they threw in for free?
Yeah, they're pretty nice. I got some cufflinks.
But the good thing is, with the shirts they gave me, I don't need them.
Yep.
So we have a
They
shared
have buttons too.
Yep. There's really no need for the cufflinks whatsoever.
when you
I
start
got stopped
adding
going through the metal detector. It took us 8 tries before I realized it was the cufflinks.
That's because I had them in my pocket.
I forgot completely. I'm like, my keys are in the dish.
It is an automatic thing once you are adding the agencies. So fire would not be able to see that unless they had their own call.
And so the line above that is the multi-agency fire is adding fire.
All right, I just see this getting increasingly immature with Dave and I, so we should call it.
Really
We'll come
nowhere
back
to go.
the trial tomorrow.
Yeah, maybe. Oh, there he is. He's on the hunt.
Done.
So you're saying they didn't send a fire truck to kill a guy? Yes.
Yes.
Oh.
What did they think they were more racist than the cops? Is that why they sent them?
Was it a smoke signal? Was it Elizabeth
I don't know
Warren
about
there?
that, but I know that you stopped this heart.
I can't breathe.
Excuse me, is your last name Fentanyl?
Because I can't breathe.
Too soon. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Hey. I know what you're thinking. You usually don't hang out with strangers, but I'm not that kind of guy.
Could you please stop flirting with a witness? Shut up, Bane. I'll do what I want.
Can you please stop playing "Take My Breath Away"? Just the wrong theme song.
Just cuts. He's holding up from "Say Anything" boombox.
He doesn't really know what to go with. It's just playing top 40 hip hop.
Yeah.
You like this?
Whatever channels.
I heard that you do.
That's a commercial for debt cleansing.
Comedy helps us express our emotions.
Sorry. All right. Is there anything that I should wrap up here with a fact? Well, and you let us know. Well, you know what? We'll take your chat here. We'll go to Mug Club for people who are still here. loudoscar.com/Mug Club, and we'll just take your chats. But you let us know, too, in the comments section. The best thing you can do, obviously, is comment. Let us know if you want us to be covering this trial, or if specifically you want us just covering moments that we think will be, if anything, not horribly uninteresting like this, because I know it's a historical moment, but I think people look back and they remember the highlights of like OJ. They were like the glove, and they don't remember Johnny Cochran listing his grocery list for 9 hours.
Yes, no, that's true. This isn't court TV, Stephen.
Right.
Can't build a network on 24-hour coverage.
They're really not going to highlight these highlights that he's using right now.
Yeah.
That is for sure. That is the worst. There's no reason to have this.
I'm trying to see if there's anything here that we also need to fact check. No, it seems like we pretty much got all this right. Just to be clear, Hennepin County, the doctor Andrew Baker, so we were talking about this earlier, because the prosecution said they were going to bring out the lady who trained
Thompson
Baker.
Dr. Thompson.
He's the one who conducted the only autopsy. Just to be clear, he's the only one who actually conducted an autopsy. And in that autopsy, some other information that I didn't give you earlier, there were blood. Gas tests showed an exceptionally high blood level of CO2 drugs that suppress breathing and can cause CO2 to accumulate in the blood. There were not only no asphyxiation, there were no bruises to the neck at all, which is surprising to me. No hemorrhaging, no evidence of restricted airflow, no mechanical asphyxia. Femoral blood draw showed high levels of fentanyl methamphetamine. The state purposely contracted private examiners to contradict the findings, by the way. He's the only one who actually conducted the official autopsy. And it showed what we already know, an enlarged heart with something called extradrenal paraganglioma. That's a tumor that secretes adrenaline. Which sounds like a bad combo when mixed with meth and fentanyl.
Yeah, that's no good.
I think you have a heart attack.
Yeah. So this is sad, and you know what the truth is? They're banking on you not watching the boring stuff, and this is the issue, because I also understand it is boring. It is. This is terrible. It's boring, and that guy is probably going to go home with her to the Red Lobster. And they'll have a wonderful time. But
guilty of being a player.
Those biscuits, literally those biscuits.
Cheddar Bay.
Anything else?
No, don't hate
Just
the player.
Endless
hate
biscuits.
the busboys at Red Lobster because they dilly dally. I think the problem with this is the media is going to pull extreme clip, just like before. There isn't going to be illumination for most people. Now, a lot of people tune in, watch the opening statements. I think that's a good thing because many people had no idea.
Yeah.
If you watch CNN, you wouldn't know about the drugs in his system or the level to which he was intoxicated. You wouldn't know about the actual autopsy and the report. You wouldn't know about the toxicology report. This was never told on mainstream media. So that might slip through, and I'm really grateful that we have this platform so we're able to punch through when YouTube doesn't decide to remove it or Twitter ban me. But keep in mind that this is going to be going on for a very, very long time. And just like many of you remember certain moments from the OJ trial, or many of you remember certain, I'm trying to think, well, really the OJ trial is the big one that I can think of.
The Menendez brothers?
Oh, yeah, that would be
trial,
one. You have certain moments that you've forgotten a lot of what happened because these things went on for weeks. And that's because the media handpicked what they wanted you to see. And considering what we know right now about the media and their lackeys in Washington, D.C. right now, they're going to handpick the most damning clips. And so I just expect it to be a repeat of the same. They'll show the clip of him on the ground. They won't show the 10-minute clip leading up where he's saying that he can't breathe. They're going to show you probably some clips that show Floyd being a great family man and a member of the community. They're not going to show you that he committed a crime against a member of the community that day. They're not going to show you his violent rap sheet. They're not going to show you the multiple times that he resisted arrest. So what I am still worried about is this is going to be going on and people will think, well, at least everything's out in the open now and justice was served, when the fact is most people aren't in the know. Most people aren't paying attention, and the media is going to use this as an opportunity to lead you by the nose. So if you don't watch it with us, you need to be watching at the very least, like I've always said, find some conservative websites, right-leaning websites, and find some left-leaning websites and match them up. You should always go one-to-one. If you go to Fox News, then go to CNN. If you go to whatever it is, so you go to our website, then go to whatever LGBTQ blog spot that says we're Hitler. My point is just line them up left and right, so that at least you know what both sides are saying on this story, because you can't expect anyone to be honest with you. And frankly, we don't have the fortitude to sit through just how boring this is, including the judge with his Bane mask. He looks like Moby in a turtle shell Bane mask.
Yeah, maybe get a different mask because it's hurting your ears.
Yes.
What, you didn't hear the person who's 3 feet next to you? Maybe take her out of a fishbowl.
I thought he was playing the dating game, and they put him in a soundproof booth. He's
It's quiz show,
He's
but
playing
he's
21.
He's cheating. All right, we're going to go take your chat here at louderwithcrowder.com/mugclub. Do consider joining up. That's what allows us to do this, because this will be demonetized back then. So that's how we keep it alive right now. YouTube, thank you very much. Not really. We're going to go take chat. Piss off.